Chapter 2555. After a while the metal plate was finally pulled out, but Luo Lauer's Void God's power was almost completely depleted. He had been absorbing Void God's power for half a month, but he could only make the metal plate move slightly. It was too difficult, brother-in-law. Luo Lauer retracted his Void God's power and collapsed to the ground, sweating profusely as he panted heavily. At that moment the cloud connection stone vibrated, and Luo Lauer's eyes widened as he accepted the call. You still dare to contact me? Last time was an accident, but it won't happen again. A deep voice answered. Luo Lauer sneered. So many people were captured during the last secret auction. Do you know how long I was chased for? A full 2 months. If I didn't have Xianxia behind me, they wouldn't have let me go even now. I'll compensate you. Cut the crap. I can't help you anymore. I can't even see the shadow of your compensation. 300 meters straight ahead. Dig 10 meters down and take a look. Luo Lauer blinked. Are you kidding? If you want me to dig, I'll dig. Who knows if it's a trap? You don't have the right to make me set up a trap. It was a very direct statement, but it moved Luo Lauer and he became unhappy. You're the one who doesn't have the right. I'm Lord Luo's son. Even though he said that, he still walked over. 300 meters down, and Luo Lauer was stunned when he saw that there really was something there. It was a cosmic ring. The Hui crystals. So many Hui crystals. Luo Lauer was shocked. There were more than 10,000 Hui crystals in the cosmic ring, which was a considerable amount of resources. Hui crystals were the most suitable crystals for cultivating Monarch's aura in the 3 sovereign spaces. Many people cultivated Monarch's aura by absorbing Hui crystals or the Monarch's aura from weapons, which was why Hui crystals were the common currency in the 3 sovereign spaces. 10,000 Hui crystals was a huge sum for an enlighter. How is it? Is this compensation enough? The deep voice asked. Luo Lauer's expression relaxed. When did you put the cosmic ring here? The secret auction will continue, but we don't need that many people as it's easy for news to leak. I'll give you a list and you just need to invite the people on it. The time will be 3 days from now. Luo Lauer was in a dilemma. Should he do it or not? This was a problem. Anyway, he had already received the compensation. Even if he did not do it, this fellow would not be able to get it back. He had already entered the Void God Dao College and could directly transfer to the Reincarnation Dao College. With Xianxia around, this person would not be able to cause trouble for him. Xianxia had too many eyes on him. The reward this time is 100,000 Hui crystals, said a deep voice. Luo Lauer's eyes widened. 100,000 Hui crystals? Are you sure? Compared to the items auctioned off in the dark, this amount of resources is nothing. Luo Lauer was shocked. What are you trying to sell? It's none of your business. Are you going to do it or not? Do it. Luo Lauer gritted his teeth. He needed resources. Even though he was Lord Luo's son, he didn't have many resources. He had relied on his own efforts to cultivate until now. It didn't take long for Luo Lauer to get his bearings and head toward the Reincarnation Dao Academy. The next day Luo Lauer came to Lu Yin. Brother-in-law, I've joined. Lu Yin was astonished. You've entered the Void God civilization? Luo Lauer was overjoyed. Yes, I've been initiated. Congratulations. Lu Yin's expression was calm. Luo Lauer's face turned bitter. Brother-in-law, can't you be a little happier? What did you say about your brother? He's already been initiated. Why are you looking for me? Lu Yin asked. Luo Lauer didn't have that much free time, and a Void God civilization wouldn't come all the way to find him. Luo Lauer moved closer and asked mysteriously, Are you going to the dark auction? Lu Yin was astonished. The one from last time? Yes, it's different this time. We won't tell so many people and will only spread the news within a small circle. Those who are invited are the absolute elites of the 6 direction training grounds, such as Shao Qingfeng and He Shu, said old Luo. Lu Yin nodded. Of course. Alright, it's tomorrow. Why don't we go now? Luo Lauer asked. Lu Yin was very interested in the secret auction. He wanted to see if the mountain that could be big or small and let people live was Mount Supreme. After the 6 direction training grounds cleansing, Cliff Town had become much more desolate. However, the 6 direction training grounds hadn't completely destroyed Cliff Town, which puzzled many people. It was impossible for the 6 direction training grounds to not know about Cliff Town's existence. Since they knew, why had they deliberately stopped the auction? Brother-in-law, do you know why the Six Direction training grounds cleansed the auction? Luo Lauer asked softly. Apparently it's because they suspected a traitor. A traitor? Lu Yin raised a brow. Luo Lauer explained, that Qi San. The everlasting race won't let the Six Direction training grounds civilization meet, so they'll definitely make a move against Tai Yikong. The Six Direction training grounds already guessed this. The previous auction caused such a huge commotion that if there were everlasting race members mixed in, they would be easily caught in one fell swoop. That's why the Six Direction training grounds stopped the auction. Now that Qi San has been exposed, there won't be any problems with this auction. Is there another traitor? Lu Yin asked. Luo Lauer shook his head. How can there be such a powerhouse? As long as they're not an extreme powerhouse, they won't be able to escape from Tai Yikong's spacetime. At most they'll be comparable to those old fellows from the Six Direction training grounds. If they can't even compare to those old fellows, then they might not be able to do anything to these elites. People like Xiao Qingfeng and He Shu all have their own trump cards. Xiao Qingfeng and Jiang Xiaodao have extreme powerhouses backing them, so it's easier for them to hide good things. The two chatted as they entered Cliff Town. Just like before, everyone was wearing masks. However, there were too few people in the auction this time, so it was easy to identify them even with masks. Xiao Qingfeng really is a show-off, Luo Lauer muttered. They had already arrived at the auction site where many people were gathered. Xiao Qingfeng was among them. He was dressed in golden robes all year round, so anyone could recognize him. Mu Mu's clothes had not changed at all. Soon after, He Shu arrived, followed by Jiang Xiaodao, Luo Zong and the others. They were all familiar with each other, as they had either participated in the Wood Spirit region or gone to the Void together. Luo Lauer took a few steps back when he saw Luo Zong arrive, his eyes filled with uncontrollable hatred. Luo Zong looked over and glanced at Lu Yin and Luo Lauer. He walked over and stopped in front of them. Brother Xianxia, we meet again. Lu Yin nodded. Luo Zong looked at Luo Lauer. Second brother, long time no see. Luo Lauer replied calmly, I'm not worthy. Luo Zong smiled faintly. Although he was wearing a mask, it was easy to see that his smile was filled with contempt and disdain. It's been hard on you representing our space-time as a hostage. However, as a hostage you shouldn't have come. Hyperspace agreed, Luo Lauer said. Luo Zong shook his head. Hyperspace agreed, but father didn't. Luo Lauer didn't say anything. As a hostage we have to have the awareness of a hostage. Otherwise people will think that we don't know the rules, right? Second brother? Luo Zong muttered. Luo Lauer clenched his fists. It's not up to you to say that. Luo Zong laughed. I'm just thinking about your safety. After all, the Six Direction training hall doesn't forbid death. He took a step forward, closing in on Luo Lauer until they were less than a meter apart. Luo Lauer instinctively wanted to retreat, but Luo Zong stopped and looked at him with interest. You don't want to end up like your brothers, do you? He then turned to leave. Brother Xianxia, thank you for taking care of this useless second brother of mine. Luo Lauer's body trembled slightly, both in fear and anger. This was the first time Lu Yin had seen him lose control of his emotions. He raised a hand and placed it on his shoulder. Your younger brother needs to be taught a lesson. Luo Lauer calmed down and smiled wryly. Brother-in-law, I've embarrassed myself. The auction would only begin the next day, so everyone stayed in Cliff Town. Luo Zong didn't cause trouble for Luo Lauer, and the others acted as if they didn't know each other. That was until Jiang Xiaodao arrived and started provoking Mu Mu. Mu Mu was furious, but now that Jiang Xiaodao had the innate gift of River Dawn and his Milky Way battle technique, he was able to fight her to a draw. Saruzin had also arrived. Were you the one who notified Saruzin? Lu Yin asked Luo Lauer when he saw Saruzin arrive. Luo Lauer shook his head. It wasn't me. The guy who organized the auction has people in every academy. Saruzin is in the Lost Academy. Then why was it your turn to notify me? Lu Yin was curious. Luo Lauer smiled. Maybe it's because he thinks it's easier for you to believe my words, brother-in-law. He had also figured out the purpose of the Huijing resources. It was to get him to invite Lu Yin. Lu Yin was puzzled. The purpose of the auction was to make money from the auction, so why did he need Saruzin? It was obvious that he was poor. Mu Mu was also puzzled and pulled Saruzin aside to talk. You still haven't found out what innate gift Saruzin obtained? Luyin asked. He had already asked Luo Lauer to find out. Luo Lauer was distressed. I can't find out, but there's a rumor that I don't know if it's true. He glanced over at Mu Mu and whispered, It said that Saruzin obtained a 5-colored fruit. Lu Yin's expression changed. How many people in the history of the wood dimension had been able to obtain a 5-colored fruit? Considering that Mu Mu valued Saruzin so much that his innate gift had been kept a secret, perhaps he had obtained an incredible innate gift of wood. Lu Yin thought back to the various strange trees he had seen in the wood dimension, but he didn't know which one Saruzin had obtained. Lu Yin suddenly looked in a certain direction and saw a beautiful figure walking over. Even though she wore a mask, everyone could still feel her peerless beauty. She was like a proud white lotus, and even though she was just walking over, she attracted everyone's attention in an instant. The surroundings were silent as everyone stared at the approaching figure. At this moment, even the stars seemed to lose their luster. He Shu walked forward and bowed slowly, My lady. The figure stopped and spoke coldly, Your sister will be angry if you treat me like this. He Shu lowered his head, but his eyes burned with passion as if he wanted to devour the woman in front of him. He was filled with infatuation. I'm willing to accept any punishment for my lady. Chapter 2556. Xiao Qingfeng and the rest watched quietly, but no one spoke. He had already guessed the woman's identity and he frowned. Someone like her should not be here. Luo Zong, Mu Mu, and even a reckless person like Jiang Xiaodao were looking at the woman with indescribable respect. Saruzin looked at her and found her familiar. Her gaze swept across the crowd and paused on Saruzin's withered arm. She then looked at Lu Yin before looking away and walking to a corner without saying a word. He Shu immediately followed. I want some peace and quiet, she said coldly. He Shu stopped and suppressed the heat in his eyes. Yes. He remained where he was, not looking at the woman or anyone else. He was as arrogant as a statue. With so many people gathered here, it would definitely attract attention. Some stayed behind while others did not dare to. For hours later, a rumbling sound came from the mountain walls. Everyone looked over and saw a passage appear. Lu Yin had seen this before. It was the passage to the auction venue. Those who had not been invited looked at each other and saw the excitement in each other's eyes. They knew that they had encountered something good. These people had clearly been invited, and this auction was definitely not simple. It reminded them of the previous auction that had been disrupted. Although they could not participate in such a large-scale auction, it would be good to experience it. He Shu was the first to arrive at the passage. He bowed and gestured for the woman in white to enter. No one else stepped forward and they all looked at her. Lu Yin's lips curled up. This woman was Bai Qian. Her cultivation was not high and she was only an enlighter, but her status was ridiculously high. Interesting. Among the people who had left Earth, Bai Shui had lost her competitive spirit and had stayed in the seed garden to retire. Zhang Dingtian was focused on avenging the Lu family and honing his cultivation. Su San was still by ancestor Lingtong's side, and only Saruzin and Bai Qian had stepped forward. Saruzin had been favored by Mu Shiqiang because of his innate gift, but Bai Qian had somehow obtained such a high status and was even able to compete with He Ran. In terms of cultivation, Bai Qian was second only to Lu Yin. Zhang Dingtian might have been constantly cultivating, but he still could not catch up to Bai Qian. Bai Qian's current cultivation was very close to that of the former 10 arbiters. Of the 10 arbiters, Lu Tianmu, Ling Gong, and Wen Sanxi were all enlighters and had yet to become envoys. Bai Qian was also an enlighter and he was an absolute cultivation genius. Bai Qian was the first to enter and He Shu followed closely behind. The others also entered one by one. They all seemed to know Bai Qian's identity. Lu Yin and Luo Lauer entered as well. They followed the passage and arrived at a place that was similar to the previous secret auction. The mountain walls didn't have much meaning, and the sound alone was enough to tell who was bidding. There were about 15 to 20 people who were invited, and there were about 10 people who came here by accident. In total, there were about 30 people, which was too little compared to the secret auction venue. Once everyone was seated, the void distorted and a woman walked out. She wore a light yellow dress and had a pretty face. She had a sweet smile on her face as she greeted everyone. Welcome to the secret auction, senior brothers and sisters. Tu shuang shuang. A cry of surprise came from Jiang Xiaodao. Xiao Qingfeng was surprised. She was actually the organizer of the secret auction? Mu Mu, He Shu and the others leaned forward in surprise. Who's this Tu Shuang? Lu Yin had never seen this woman before, but of course he had long since discovered that she was hiding in the mountain before the secret auction. It was impossible for anyone else to discover her. Luo Lauer replied, the reincarnation spacetime has 3 9 sages and Tu Shuang is one of them. She's an elite disciple of the Sanctification sect, and she's already a 3rd stage ascendant immortal at such a young age. She's been cultivating in the Grand Dao Plaza for a long time, and it's said that she's currently in seclusion. You didn't know that she was the one who organized the secret auction? Lu Yin asked. Luo Lauer shook his head. The voice belonged to a man. Who would have thought that it was her? Brother-in-law, this Tu Shuang isn't simple. It's said that among the Sanctification sect's disciples, she's the only one who's cultivated the highest level of the heavenly conversion technique. Her status in the sect is similar to Xiaoyan's status in the Sanctification sect, and she has a good relationship with Xiao Qingfeng and Jiang Xiaodao. Lu Yin nodded as he only cared about Mount Supreme. This woman's cultivation was only at 3 origin tribulations, which was far inferior to his own. However, it had to be said that having a good master truly made a difference. This woman's innate talent might not be comparable to the 10 arbiters, but her cultivation far surpassed them. This was her background. I'm sure all of you are aware of my background. That's right, I was the one who organized this secret auction. I had no choice as cultivation requires a lot of resources and I didn't have enough. I could only scrape together some good stuff to share with all of you and get some benefits. Tu Shuang smiled. Her light yellow dress seemed very soft in the dusky mountain, and her voice was very sweet as well. Jiang Xiaodao shouted, Sister Shuang, if you're short on money just tell me. I have it. Tu Shuang smiled. Thank you, Brother Xiaodao, but I still like to earn my own money. Alright, we'll officially begin the secret auction. I'm sure all of you are aware of the demi-humans that appeared in the previous secret auction. They were brought into the 6 direction training grounds because of a mountain, and today's first auction is that mountain. She then took out a mountain from her cosmic ring and placed it on the ground, causing it to rumble. Lu Yin's gaze trembled. That's right, it was Mount Supreme and he couldn't be wrong about that feeling. Mount Supreme originated from the Daoist sect's era, and the one in his hand was a corner of the 5th mainland's Daoist sect's heavenly pillar. In that case, which heavenly pillar did this Mount Supreme originate from, and how did it break away? The heavenly pillar had been created by the primogenitor, and even the corpse god couldn't break through it. No one knew how Mount Supreme had broken away, but perhaps this Mount Supreme could give them an answer. Sister Shuang, are you saying that this mountain can hold a living person? Jiang Xiaodao was surprised. Tu Shuang smiled. Brother Xiaodao, you can come in and take a look if you don't believe me. Actually, this isn't the venue for today's secret auction. The real venue is inside this mountain. Everyone looked at the mountain in surprise, but no one entered first. They had all cultivated for so many years and they were still quite vigilant. Seems like all of you are worried. Then I'll go in first. Tu Shuang smiled and entered the mountain. Xiao Qingfeng stood up. What's there to worry about? We've known Shuang for decades, so we naturally trust her. He then jumped down and entered the mountain. Jiang Xiaodao rolled his eyes. Stop pretending. He then entered as well. Everyone else entered the mountain one by one. Lu Yin entered as well, bringing along Luo Lauer. He Shu looked at Bai Qian. Bai Qian stood up and took a step forward, entering the mountain. He Shu hurriedly chased after him. Those who hadn't been invited looked at each other and gritted their teeth. Even the big shots have entered. What are we afraid of? Let's broaden our horizons. This is a rare opportunity, so we can't miss it, someone said. Enter. One by one they entered. Finally, there was only one mountain left in the dusky mountain wall. At this moment the mountain was completely different. Everyone looked at it in surprise. It can really change size and this stone is quite hard. Lu Yin looked around, but there wasn't anything special about the scenery. It was just a mountain, but since it was the same as Mount Supreme, it should be able to use resources to create a light barrier that would prevent others from entering or leaving. Just as he thought of this, the light barrier suddenly covered the sky. Lu Yin was astonished. This was exactly what he had been thinking. Shuang, what's this? He Shu asked as he stood guard beside Bai Qian. Tu Shuangshuang placed her hands behind her back and smiled. This mountain is the first item to be auctioned off, so we naturally have to let everyone see its functions. Look, this light barrier is one of its functions. It can block external attacks, and this mountain can hide 100 billion people. Everyone gasped. Luo Zong raised his hand and struck out with his palm, but the wind from his palm only caused ripples on the light barrier. He raised his hand to attack again, but he still couldn't break through. His face sank and he felt uneasy. Let us out first. Tu Shuangshuang didn't understand. Since we're already here, why do we have to leave? Xiao Qingfeng and the rest looked at Tu Shuangshuang. Tu Shuangshuang smiled. I only wanted to catch you guys, but... She looked at Bai Qian. Big Fish has entered. He Shu's eyes narrowed and he immediately attacked Tu Shuangshuang. Jiang Xiaodao and the rest didn't even react to Tu Shuangshuang's words. Lu Yin raised his brows. Something was wrong. He Shu used the third of the stone gate's 8 hands, and it passed through Tu Shuangshuang's body without any resistance. Everyone's expressions changed. Xiao Qingfeng blurted out, an innate gift of wood. He leaped up and attacked the light barrier. Luo Zong, He Shu, Mu Mu and the rest all attacked at the same time. They weren't stupid. Tu Shuangshuang was trying to trap them. However, their attacks didn't affect the light barrier at all. Tu Shuangshuang's voice came from outside. This light barrier can block the power of someone who has become immortal. Seniors, don't waste your energy. Tu Shuangshuang, what are you doing? You're inviting trouble for the Huaxing. Xiao Qingfeng shouted. Tu Shuangshuang smiled. Why should I care about him? You're from the Huaxing school. Jiang Xiaodao shouted. He hadn't expected to be tricked by Tu Shuangshuang and he still couldn't believe it. Why would Tu Shuangshuang attack them? It didn't make sense. Tu Shuangshuang smiled and said, That's right, I'm a disciple of the Saint Transforming Sect, but I'm not a disciple of the Saint Transforming Sect, so I'm not that important. Besides, my master is someone else. Senior brothers and sisters, time's up. Xiao Qingfeng and Jiang Xiaodao took out their power vessels, and He Shu even took out a blue energy source from his cosmic ring. Their attacks were almost as powerful as those of peak envoys, but they still couldn't break through the light barrier. Luo Lauer's face paled. How could this be? Something had happened again. Why was there so much trouble? What was going on with this Tu Shuangshuang? Lu Yin looked up at the light barrier. He wanted to leave, but not through this method. Tu Shuangshuang was very likely to be a spy for the Eternals, and if she was taken away, they would have to face powerful enemies from the Eternals. He didn't have the confidence to do so. From the looks of it, the Six-Way Society's guess had been right. The Eternals were indeed going to attack the Six-Way Training Hall. The secret auction hadn't been carried out because they didn't want the spies to be caught in one fell swoop. In the end, Su Wang had exposed a mutant, but there were more spies than just a mutant. Chapter 2557. Tu Shuangshuang had actually waited until now to make a move, which was exactly when the 6-direction training rites were slacking off. But how was she going to leave? With his strength, he could easily unleash the power of a half-ancestor, and he tore through the barrier. Everyone was stunned as no one had seen who had attacked, and they did not even know how the barrier had been broken. Tu Shuangshuang was the same. She was about to put the mountain into her cosmic ring when she realized that the barrier had been broken. What was going on? She did not have time to think, and she immediately took out a blue energy source and placed it near her heart. The people here were about to come out, and since the barrier had been broken, she would not be able to replenish her energy source in time. The first to come out was not Xiao Qingfeng or the rest, but rather someone who had not been invited. He had a panicked expression, but he moved very quickly. Tu Shuangshuang flashed a mesmerizing smile. You're so stupid to scout for others. Her pale yellow robes fluttered as she approached the person with a palm that carried a fragrant wind. The person knew that he was in trouble the moment he heard Tu Shuangshuang's words. How could he be faster than those elites? However, it was already too late. Tu Shuangshuang's palm approached and the person could only brace himself to block it. However, Tu Shuangshuang's palm did not land on him. It merely brushed past his face, and the wind from the palm had already knocked him unconscious. The person who had actually received the attack was the second person who had rushed out from the mountain, Jiang Xiaodao. Jiang Xiaodao had also heard Tu Shuangshuang's words, and he knew that he had been used as a tool. However, there was nothing he could do. He could only blame those people for being too scheming and scheming against others at such a critical moment. Jiang Xiaodao used his astral river battle technique, and his palms swept up a torrent of water that surged into the sky. His body was covered in a colorful glow, and even Mu Mu was helpless against the might of his palm. Don't blame me for not giving Hua Xing face. Bang! There was a loud collision and the water scattered in all directions. Jiang Xiaodao's pupils shrank, and he felt that the water in his palm had suddenly become powerless. Even the astral origin cyclone within his body had been suppressed and then scattered. Not good. Huatian technique. He reacted quickly and endured the pain in his palm. He waved his left hand, causing the river to revolve around him as he used the river arrow technique. However, Tu Shuangshuang suddenly disappeared, and her alluring fragrance intoxicated him, causing him to fall into a momentary daze. It was this moment of absent-mindedness that caused Jiang Xiaodao to fall and the river to dissipate. The river arrow technique had ended before it could be used. He Shu and Xiao Qingfeng came out almost at the same time as Jiang Xiaodao. The time difference was less than 2 seconds. They had used Jiang Xiaodao to scout the way. Since Tu Shuangshuang dared to stay behind, she must have something to rely on. However, Jiang Xiaodao did not force Tu Shuangshuang to use her strength. Tu Shuangshuang did not even use the power in the blue energy source. He Shu cursed inwardly. Inside his heart, the blue energy source activated. Blue light enveloped his entire body. The third hand of the stone door enveloped Tu Shuangshuang with many transformations. Xiao Qingfeng also attacked at the same time. He also had a blue energy source. The two blue energy sources attacked at the same time. Tu Shuangshuang alone could not block them. Tu Shuangshuang's gaze did not change. She stretched out her arms that were as white as jade. Shadows of her palms flew and her chi was like a horned dragon, causing the heavenly transformation technique to materialize. You're courting death. A fierce look flashed across He Shu's eyes. He jumped from the third hand of the stone door to the fourth hand. Xiao Qingfeng suddenly stopped and stared at Tu Shuangshuang. There was something wrong. A pair of white palms reached into the stone door's fourth hand. It was like a small boat being swept into a whirlpool in the ocean. It should have been crushed to pieces. However, in the next second, the palms tore apart the stone door's fourth hand that was wrapped in blue energy. Blood splattered everywhere and dripped onto Xiao Qingfeng's face. Xiao Qingfeng watched as Tu Shuangshuang struck He Shu down. His arms were almost crushed and he looked extremely miserable. Tu Shuangshuang's arms danced, and the horned dragon formed by the heavenly transformation technique crashed into Xiao Qingfeng. Xiao Qingfeng took out his power vessel the moment He Shu was struck down. This was a trump card that he would only use when facing a powerhouse who had become an immortal. The power vessel blocked Tu Shuangshuang's attack. Xiao Qingfeng felt the power of the power vessel being shaken and blurted out, "The power of a seventh cycle celestial. Impossible." Tu Shuangshuang's lips curled up once again. She did not know when, but multicolored bubbles appeared in the mountain walls. They were about the size of a palm and were floating in the air. One of the bubbles floated in front of Xiao Qingfeng. Xiao Qingfeng stared at Tu Shuangshuang. His gaze passed through the bubbles and his eyes instantly became sluggish. Tu Shuangshuang took advantage of this opportunity to reach out and avoid the power vessel. She then grabbed at Xiao Qingfeng. They had only exchanged a few blows and it had only been a short time. However, this was enough time for the others to rush out. Luo Zong, Mu Mu and a dozen other people rushed out and looked at the scene in front of them in shock. Jiang Xiaodao had fainted, He Shu's blood was splattered all over the ground, and Xiao Qingfeng was like a puppet. His gaze was sluggish. How long had it been? Tu Shuangshuang had defeated these three experts in an instant. Luo Zong did not hesitate to escape. He did not even think about fighting with Tu Shuangshuang. The others did the same. Tu Shuangshuang smiled. A group of geniuses running away like stray dogs. How interesting. However, can you escape? As she spoke, her gaze became cold. Multicolored bubbles appeared in front of everyone's eyes. They looked at the bubbles that had suddenly appeared and just like Xiao Qingfeng, their gazes were sluggish. A cold voice rang out. Become empty. Dream bubbles. With a pop, the bubbles in front of Xiao Qingfeng shattered. His thoughts also seemed to shatter and his mind went blank. Following that, the bubbles shattered one after another, followed by people falling to the ground. No matter what they did, they could not avoid the fate of being destroyed by the bubbles. Mu Mu and Luozong were the same. The last group of people walked out of the mountain. It was Lu Yin, Luo Lauer, Bai Qian, Saruzin, and 5 or 6 others who had not been invited. They were already regretting their actions. They should not have gotten involved, as this level was not something they should have come into contact with. They looked at the fallen people. Even Xiao Qingfeng and the other elite geniuses had fallen, let alone them. Tu Shuangshuang's eyes lit up as she looked at Bai Qian. I only wanted to catch these few, but I didn't expect to catch such a big fish. Can you tell me how you knew that there was a secret auction here? Bai Qian remained calm. I was just passing by. Haha, then you can only count yourself unlucky. No, Tu Shuangshuang looked at Bai Qian strangely. He ran is unlucky. Bai Qian looked at the floating bubbles. So that's how it is. Not only are you from the Transforming Saint School, but you're also from Qing Kong. Luo Lauer cried out, Qing Kong? That dream Qing Kong? It's Qing Kong. Lu Yin was curious. Luo Lauer's face paled. Brother-in-law, it's over. We're all finished. It's actually Qing Kong's plan. No wonder no one could save us. Bai Qian was indifferent. The Eternals are led by a single true god, and the 7 sky gods are all absolute powerhouses. There are also extremely powerful existences below the 7 sky gods, and the most terrifying of them all is Qing Kong. No one has ever seen his true face, and anyone who is targeted by him is a nightmare. He's like Bai Wuxian of the 7 sky gods, a monster known as Dream. That's right. Between the void and the void is also Qing Kong's handiwork. He wanted you to smoothly set up this plan and achieve the desired effect. Tu Shuangshuang giggled. Thank you for praising my master. Now it's time for this plan to end. End? What end? Luo Lauer was terrified, and as soon as he finished speaking, a bubble appeared in front of him. At the same time, bubbles appeared in front of Bai Qian and the others. Lu Yin was the same. As the bubbles burst, they all collapsed one by one. In front of Bai Qian, a bubble burst with a pop. Suddenly, a hand appeared and blocked Bai Qian's line of sight as well as the burst bubble. It was Lu Yin. Everyone else collapsed, and at this moment, only 3 people remained standing. Tu Shuangshuang, Bai Qian, and Lu Yin. Tu Shuangshuang looked at Lu Yin in shock, and for the first time she looked at him seriously. Xianxia? Well said. Lu Yin smiled. Tu Shuangshuang stared at Lu Yin. She didn't know what to do. These people couldn't possibly stand under Dream Illusion's bubbles, so what was up with this guy? Lu Yin faced Tu Shuangshuang and asked, Is Qing Kong a progenitor second only to the 7 sky gods? His exact strength is unknown. No one has seen him before, so there's no way to know. How do you know? Lu Yin asked again. Bai Qian raised his head. I have a high position in the hyperspace dimension. Lu Yin looked back at Bai Qian. Hintel. I'm curious about what you've been through. Let's find some time to chat. Saruzin is here too. Bai Qian nodded. Yes, we should. Tu Shuangshuang's eyes narrowed, and she no longer had the playful smile she had when facing Xiao Qingfeng and the rest. She looked at Lu Yin with fear and suspicion. This person definitely wasn't as strong as she had seen, or else he wouldn't have been able to withstand Dream Illusion. Furthermore, his conversation with Bai Qian was abnormal, and the two seemed to be very close. Her gaze turned cold and she took a step forward. She raised her palm and blue energy flickered. Lu Yin turned around and raised his hand as well. Tu Shuangshuang's eyes went wide. She was courting death. As she approached, her jade-white palm collided with Lu Yin's. There was a loud bang, and in the next moment, there was a crack as Tu Shuangshuang's arm twisted irregularly. Intense pain spread throughout her body, and she was shocked when she saw that her palm had been bent. Lu Yin's tone was cold. You used an illusion to change the red energy to blue and crush these people with an absolute advantage. You did well. Tu Shuangshuang frantically retreated and clutched her right arm in disbelief. How did you know? Lu Yin smiled. I'll talk to you later. Then an invisible force enveloped her. Tu Shuangshuang wanted to escape, but she felt as if the world was collapsing around her. Her consciousness blurred and she fainted like Xiao Qingfeng and the rest. She only had one thought before she fainted. She had encountered a monster. What do you plan to do? Bai Qian was curious. Lu Yin said, There's no need to stay in the 6 direction training grounds anymore. I've already understood what I needed to understand. Next, it's time to learn more about the 6 Direction Association's spacetime. Bai Qian nodded. Do you need my help? Of course. Lu Yin stored everyone who had fainted into Mount Supreme, including Tu Shuangshuang's mountain. He now had 2 mountains that he could store people in. In the end, only Luo Lauer was left behind. Even Bai Qian had entered Mount Supreme. Since this was a trap set up by Qing Kong, it shouldn't be broken. Luo Lauer woke up with a slap and opened his eyes in a daze. His consciousness was still blank and he couldn't remember what had happened. However, as the scene in front of him became clearer, he suddenly remembered and screamed. "Make any more noise and you'll die." Luo Lauer looked over and saw Tu Shuangshuang's icy expression. He became even more afraid. What are you doing?" This Tu Shuangshuang was naturally Lu Yin in disguise. "Take me to the sovereign's space." Chapter 2558. Luo Lauer was shocked. 3 sovereigns' space? Hurry! Lu Yin shouted while disguised as Tu Shuangshuang, scaring Luo Lauer so much that his heart almost jumped out of his chest. He wailed, "This is the Hexagon Training Hall and the space here is stable. I can't open it. I have to go to outer space." Lu Yin frowned. Outer space? That would attract the attention of those old fellows. At this point his expression changed slightly as he had already attracted attention. Since that was the case, he grabbed Luo Lauer and materialized his spiritual force into multicolored bubbles that revolved around him. He tore through the void and walked out. Something really happened. Is this illusion bubble? Shijiao was shocked and she swept out with her mace. At the same time, numerous stone maces formed palms that pressed down. This was her inner world. In another direction, Yu Ting and Ji Bing appeared simultaneously. One released a white half-ancestor level energy while the other escaped into the void, concealing his killing intent. Lu Yin disguised himself as Tu Shuangshuang and looked at Shijiao. Blue energy appeared around him as he struck out with a palm that collided with Shijiao's inner world. Normally, the blue energy would be suppressed by the inner world, but Lu Yin's attack was only able to push her back. Bubbles appeared in front of Shijiao and continuously burst, transforming into spiritual force that bombarded her. If it had been Tu Shuangshuang herself, these bubbles would not have been able to harm Shijiao. After all, she was a half-ancestor powerhouse. However, Lu Yin was the one attacking her, a freak who had cultivated his spiritual force under the primogenitor's scripture for many years. The bursting of these bubbles caused Shijiao's mind to go blank and she swayed as she fell. Shijiao's eyes were filled with shock. She recognized Tu Shuangshuang, and even if this woman used a blue energy source, no, even a red energy source would not be able to harm her. Furthermore, this was illusion bubble Qing Kong's ultimate technique. White energy swept across the horizon and transformed into a spear that pierced towards Lu Yin. Behind Lu Yin, Ji Bing exuded a sinister aura. The broken blade in his hand formed an ultimate attack that completely enveloped Lu Yin. Lu Yin grabbed Luo Lauer and took a step forward. Space was just a line in his eyes and he moved from one line to another. However, in Yu Ting and Ji Bing's eyes he instantly disappeared, traversing through space without any delay and appearing directly above their heads. Ji Bing's shock was indescribable. The Lost Clan was best at sneaky attacks. His attack had completely isolated the void. Even experts of the same level could not escape unscathed, unless they were extremely strong. However, this woman was not even at their level. He could not even see how she managed to escape. She must be Qing Kong. Yu Ting roared. No one had ever seen Qing Kong. To them, Qing Kong represented dreams and nothingness. Strength, gender, and nothing else. It was just a dream. Lu Yin had disguised himself as Tu Shuangshuang and used his status as an emissary to avoid Ji Bing's fatal blow and even injure Shijiao. This ability had long exceeded their imagination. The only possibility was Qing Kong. There was a whoosh and Lu Yin frowned. He took another step forward and vanished. Death Worm appeared in his original spot, as the void moved towards Yin. Lu Yin grabbed Luo Lauer and left, taking one step at a time. Every step he took crossed a line in space, but in the eyes of Ji Bing and the rest, Lu Yin had long since disappeared and no one knew where he had gone. Lu Yin had actually already entered a parallel universe just like the tree that had escaped. As long as he crossed the line, it was equivalent to stepping from one frame to another, and this frame was a parallel universe. Perhaps one day he could be like the tree that had escaped and crossed the parallel universe without needing to locate it. Found it! Luo Lauer exclaimed. Lu Yin brought him into the space of the 3 sovereigns. After Lu Yin and the rest left, Xi Bing and the rest met up in Tai spacetime. Their expressions were ugly. We could only report it. I didn't expect Cheng Kong to appear. Shi Jiao frowned. It's not Cheng Kong. Otherwise we would all be dead. That was Tu Shuang, a member of the Evolving Saints sect. He was actually a spy of the Eternals. Zhou Xian said gloomily, I thought that the 6 directional training grounds would be safe once an extreme powerhouse attacked Su Wangji. Turns out that it was a trap. Xianxia and the rest were taken away. Shi Jiao shivered. We have to find them. Whether it's Xiao Qingfeng, Jiang Xiaodao or Xianqi, nothing can happen to them. The space of the 3 sovereigns was poisoned. This was what Wu Junshi had said. This spacetime was similar to the 5th mainland in that it had been poisoned by time by the Eternals, which had led to the end of the Cultivation civilization. The 3 sovereigns had then changed the world, creating the current space of the 3 sovereigns. After arriving at the space of the 3 sovereigns, Lu Yin knocked out Luo Lauer and looked around. He looked east, then north, and then west. He could feel the auras of progenitors all around him, as well as the auras of eternal corpse kings and human cultivators. This was a battlefield. This spacetime was not very large, and it was far smaller than the 5th mainland, the Void God spacetime or the Wood spacetime. In the 6 Direction Society, the space of the 3 sovereigns was just there to make up the numbers. He brought Luo Lauer and landed on a barren planet. Not long after, a battle broke out in the heavens as the Eternals seemed to have surrounded the space of the 3 sovereigns. Lu Yin released Bai Qian. It's been hard on you. Bai Qian looked up. Battlefield. The space of the 3 sovereigns. Bai Qian looked at him. You want to attack this space? That's a wise choice. The space of the 3 sovereigns is the easiest to deal with in the 6 Direction Society. Lu Yin was surprised. Deal with it? Bai Qian replied, didn't you say deal with it? The Lu family's exile has something to do with the 6 Direction Society. How do you know? Lu Yin coughed. Bai Qian had a high status in the Hyperspace Society and he knew many things. Bai Qian stretched lazily. How are you doing in the 5th mainland? Lu Yin thought about it. About the same as your position in the Hyperspace Society. Bai Qian replied, you're supreme, but there are always 1 or 2 who can't get along with you. Lu Yin smiled. Not bad. Bai Qian exchanged glances with Lu Yin. Are you curious about me? Lu Yin nodded. Of course. It's inconceivable that someone who came from Earth could climb to such a high position. Bai Qian looked up at the battle in outer space. I'm only useful, but I'm powerless in certain situations. I might seem impressive, but I'm actually just a puppet. If you don't mind, you can tell me. We're from the same hometown, Lu Yin said. Bai Qian replied, the true ruler of the Hyperspace Society is. The more Lu Yin understood Bai Qian, the more he admired this woman. She did not fear the unknown, and as long as there was a path, no matter how difficult it was, she would walk it. Pioneering was her life's motto, just like how she had left Earth without hesitation after receiving Starsibyl's invitation. In her heart, although Earth was her hometown, it was not worth remembering. She always wanted to take risks in the unknown, even if she knew that the results would not be good. Believe it or not, I guessed that we would meet one day. Bai Qian smiled. Lu Yin had never seen her before. They had only met a few times, and the one that had left the deepest impression on him was naturally their chance encounter at Astral Link World. He had caught a glimpse of her beautiful figure, and she had been as beautiful as a painting with an unparalleled heroic spirit. However, she had been very cold back then, just like her sword that could freeze anything. She had an attractive charm that was not a woman's charm. This charm was not something that could be brought about by looks, but rather a unique style. For some reason, Lu Yin took out some wine from his cosmic ring. Want a drink? Bai Qian's eyes lit up. When I was on Earth, I liked to go to bars. It was late at night, but all I could hear was the clamor. It hid the passion of human nature and exposed the darkness. She did not care if Lu Yin had drunk before. She took a sip and the wine flowed down from the corner of her mouth. Lu Yin did not know if he had been infected by her, but he also began to drink. Compared to drinking, he preferred tea to sober up. Without me, you wouldn't have been able to break out of this situation. Bai Qian nodded. Without you, I wouldn't have been able to. I'll help you. And also help yourself. How did the Hyperspace Society record that the Lu family was exiled? Lu Yin asked. Bai Qian wiped the corner of her mouth. The Lu family took the blame. Lu Yin's gaze turned cold as he looked at her. Bai Qian said, "It's funny. I didn't understand the spacetime I was born in, but after arriving in the hyperspace society I understood. Our spacetime is called the Genesis space, and there was an extremely glorious era of the Above Heaven sect. During that era, thousands of races worshipped each other, and the Six Directions Association was just an ordinary parallel spacetime. So what if there was a Void Master? So what if there was a ruler of wood? So what if there was a Grand Empyrean? Even when faced with the Above Heaven sect at its peak, they still had to worship them. To the Six Directions Association, the Above Heaven sect was the absolute ruler. However, because that era was too glorious, the Above Heaven sect could not see the corruption and ambition that grew in the shadows. That was the Eternals." Bai Qian finished her wine in one gulp and exhaled. Many people reported to the Above Heaven sect about the hidden dangers of the Eternals, but in the end the Above Heaven sect did not accept them. Not only did the Genesis space collapse, but the continents were also destroyed and old monsters like the Seven Sky Gods were born. Today the Six Directions Association's main opponents are the Seven Sky Gods, and almost all of them are from the Genesis space. According to the records of history, this was the Genesis space's fault as well as the Above Heaven sects. They were too arrogant and did not care about the mundane world. In the end they were overthrown. This disaster was not only borne by the Genesis space, but also by the Six Directions Association. Many people's relatives and friends died at the hands of the Eternals. Take the space of the Three Sovereigns as an example. Their cultivation civilization was once destroyed and countless people died. The Six Directions Association joined forces to fight against the Eternals. They wanted to settle accounts with the Above Heaven sect and make the Genesis space take responsibility for these disasters. However, the Genesis space only had the fifth and sixth mainlands left. Originally, the Six Directions Association did not want to let these two mainlands go, but they needed them to fight against the Eternals. After all, the Genesis space was holding back a considerable portion of the Eternals' strength. Until some people believed that the Six Directions Association was strong enough to deal with the Eternals, the Lu family was pushed out to bear the consequences of the Above Heaven sect's arrogance. This was the truth behind why the reincarnation spacetime had joined forces with the Four Directions scale to banish the Lu family. Lu Yin stared blankly at the sky. The price had been borne. Was this the truth? The mistakes of the Above Heaven sect's era had to be borne by the people of the Above Heaven sect's era. But in the three realms and six Daos who still existed, only the Lu family. Thus this price could only be borne by the Lu family. Chapter 2559. Lu Yin fell into a daze. He didn't know what to feel. Hate? Resentment? Or what? Was it laughable? Above Heaven's sect had made a mistake, but the Lu family had to take responsibility for it. This wasn't a matter of right or wrong, but rather that the Six Paths Guild needed a way to vent their frustrations. They had been struggling at death's door under Above Heaven's sect, and now that Above Heaven's sect had collapsed, it was the Eternals' turn to suppress them. They needed a target for revenge, and the Lu family was naturally the target. Who was it that decided to pin this crime on the Lu clan? Lu Yin asked. Bai Qian looked up. Grand Empyrean. Lu Yin closed his eyes. Indeed, only a Grand Empyrean could do that. Yes, it was decided by the Grand Empyrean. However, the suggestion to convict the Lu family was not made by the Grand Empyrean. The Six Direction Guild has been holding grudges against the Origin space for a long time and needs a target to vent. This suggestion is perfect for the Six Direction Guild to vent their anger, Bai Qian said. Lu Yin looked at her with a deep gaze. Then who suggested it? Bai Qian shook his head. There are some things that I'm not supposed to know. Perhaps I'll find out once I defeat He Ran. Lu Yin looked at her deeply. Her words could easily make others think that she was making a deal, but Lu Yin could tell that she was telling the truth. The person who suggested this was definitely someone from the Six Directions Society, but this suggestion might not be something that came from the Six Directions Society. Perhaps it came from the Four Directions scale. The four-way scales understood the Six-Way Society and condemned the Lu family as the outlet for the Six-Way Society's resentment towards the primordial space. They used the power of the reincarnation time and space to banish the Lu family and take control of the starry sky tree. The Six-Way Society would no longer be hostile towards the primordial space, but they would also not accept the primordial space. This led to the current situation. The starry sky tree knew about the Six Paths Guild, but he couldn't join it. Lu Yin let out a long sigh. Bai Qian's words had refreshed his understanding of the Six Direction Society, and it had also clarified what he needed to do. Regardless of whether he was right to convict the Lu clan or not, the Lu clan had already been exiled. The grudges of the past had vanished like smoke in thin air. Now that he wanted to welcome them back to the Lu clan, whether it was the four-way scales or the six-way sect, they would definitely not agree. "I'll do as you say. If it's possible, I'll think of a way to help you defeat He Ran," Lu Yin said. He then turned to Bai Qian and raised his hand. "We're allies now." Bai Qian shook the bottle. "When you drink it, it's already." He then raised his hand and a crisp sound echoed throughout the desolate planet. The two of them lay on a barren planet, their bodies covered in sand. The yellow clouds in the distance pressed down, bringing with them a pungent smell. A sinister-looking scorpion that looked like it had been magnified 100 times rapidly approached them. It stretched out its tentacles to wrap around the two of them and send them into its mouth. Suddenly, one of them woke up and saw the scorpion's terrifying mouth. He cried out in alarm and subconsciously released his strength. The tricolor monarch's chi tore the scorpion into pieces. Green blood mixed with its innards splattered all over the ground. Vomit, the man felt disgusted and wanted to leave. However, he saw that someone was still lying on the ground. Brother-in-law? Not long after, on a withered hillside, Luo Lauer was munching on something while Lu Yin slowly woke up beside him. "Brother-in-law, you're awake." Second brother Luo was overjoyed. Lu Yin saw that it was Luo Lauer. "What about us?" Luo Lauer replied, "That bitch Tu Shuang captured us, and now we're in the Three Sovereigns space." "The Three Monarchs space? Isn't it just your hometown? How did she bring us here? She let us go?" Luo Lauer was vexed by the series of questions. "I don't know either. Logically speaking, we should have been captured by her. Illusion bubble, that's the Eternal Race's secret technique. That woman is a spy for the Eternal Race, so there's no way she would have let us go. Strange, I wonder how the others are doing." Lu Yin's expression changed and he hurriedly checked his body. "I checked and there's no special power in my body. We shouldn't have been controlled and..." Second brother Luo waved the dark green spectacles in his hand. "There's no problem with the timing either. It's only been a day since she attacked us in Cliff Town." No one in the Six Direction training rites wore these spectacles, and they had all been stored in their cosmic rings. Lu Yin frowned. "So we were really released?" Second brother Luo rubbed his head in distress. "Logically speaking, that's impossible. Something must have happened, but I don't know what exactly happened. Why are we in the Three Sovereigns space? Why are we together? Where are the others? These are all very strange." Lu Yin's eyes flashed. "Can you contact the Six Direction training rites?" Second brother Luo bared his teeth. "No, I don't have the ability to contact them and I can't contact them either. Brother-in-law, we can't explain this clearly." Lu Yin nodded. Second brother Luo's current situation was similar to Lu Yin's when he had been captured by the Eternal Race during the Star Tower contest. No matter what, they had been captured by the Eternal Race, so how could they escape? How could they not be controlled? Second brother Luo looked into the distance with a melancholy expression. "No matter what, we still have to contact the Six Direction training rites in the end. The only thing we can do now is find the others. It would be much better if the others were also left here. Even if we're controlled, the Six Direction training rites will think of a way to save us. Jiang Xiaodao, Xiao Qingfeng and the others are among them," Lu Yin said. "Where are we now?" Second brother Luo put on his spectacles and looked at the symbol on them. "The Three Sovereigns space isn't that big and it's much smaller than the other Six Direction training rites. This is because the Cultivation civilization was once cut off, so we're currently at the border between the Lower King Star region and the Eternal Race." He then looked at Lu Yin. "Brother-in-law, we have to find a way to cross the border." Lu Yin nodded. "Lead the way. This is your home ground." Second brother Luo smiled bitterly. "You know my situation very well. It's even more dangerous for me here. Regardless of whether or not we can find the others, we have to leave the Three Sovereigns space." "How do we leave?" Lu Yin asked. They weren't people from beyond the space-time continuum, so they couldn't find the coordinates. Second brother Luo's eyes flickered. "Someone can help us, but the prerequisite is that we have to return to the Lower King Star region and cross the border." Lu Yin frowned as he had miscalculated. He should have brought second brother Luo through the border, which would have saved him the time to think of a way to cross the border. Otherwise, with their strength, how could they cross the border and resist the eternal race? Lu Yin had underestimated second brother Luo. He didn't know who the man had contacted, but he had confidently brought Lu Yin to join the battle between the three sovereigns and the eternal race. There weren't many experts involved in this sort of conventional battle, and they had safely returned to the border after the battle had ended. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed as he looked at the rainbow wall in front of him. It was a materialized power formed from sovereign aura. The towering rainbow wall directly separated the three sovereigns' space from the human domain and the eternal race. Lu Yin was shocked. Although the three sovereigns' space was just a stopgap for the Six Directions Association, its strength couldn't be underestimated. Everything else aside, this rainbow wall contained enough power to change the heavens and earth. Bai Wangyuan, Xianxia, and the others could cover the sky with their ancestral worlds, but they might not be able to maintain their ancestral worlds for long periods of time. Although the rainbow wall wasn't an ancestral world, it was limitless. If it was placed in the fifth mainland, it would be equivalent to a wall constructed from astral sources that spanned across the sky. How is it, brother-in-law? This border is fine, right? Second brother Luo bragged. They were currently in a spacecraft that had been plated with sovereign aura, and there were injured soldiers and corpses all around. Lu Yin praised, spectacular. This is the three sovereign space, second only to the seven sky gods. Anyone who comes to the three sovereign space will take a look at the rainbow wall. Lu Yin was puzzled. If even the Six Directions Association is amazed by it, then your father and the others must be quite powerful. Second brother Luo shook his head. It's fake. This is the power of the three sovereigns array. If it wasn't for that array, this rainbow wall wouldn't have appeared. Lu Yin's heart skipped a beat. He had heard of the three sovereigns array many times, but he had no idea what this array was. Is it a sourcebox array? Second brother Luo replied, I don't know about that. When Luo Tsang dies one day, I'll openly return and ask around for you. There was a door at the bottom of the rainbow wall, from which a beam of light descended. The spacecraft slowly approached the door and slowly entered. Lu Yin watched as the beam of light drew closer and closer. There shouldn't be any problems, right? He was truly apprehensive. According to second brother Luo, the three sovereigns' space wasn't very large. If there was a problem at the border, Luo Jun and the other progenitors might appear, which would be troublesome. He knew that he definitely couldn't deal with the seven sky gods. If he had to face the three sovereigns array, no, even Lord Luo himself wouldn't be able to handle it. Also, where was Xianxia? There shouldn't be any problems. Don't worry, brother-in-law, second brother Luo said confidently. Lu Yin nervously scanned the beam of light, causing the frame in his hand to ring as he smoothly entered. Second brother Luo fiddled with the frame for a while, saying that he had stuffed his communication pass inside. Only then could he enter the rainbow wall. Not only was the rainbow wall tall, but it was also abnormally thick. It took the spacecraft some time to pass through it. The moment they entered the rainbow wall, Lu Yin once again felt the majestic sovereign's aura. If this power erupted, it could easily tear him apart. It was no wonder why it could stop the Eternals. Let's go, brother-in-law. The spacecraft docked, and second brother Luo led Lu Yin away without any obstructions. They even took a small spacecraft that had also been plated with Sovereign's aura and smoothly sailed through space. Second brother Luo stretched lazily. We're finally out. Who helped you? Lu Yin asked casually. Second brother Luo replied, although I wasn't welcomed in the three sovereigns' space, I'm still Lord Luo's son. Before Luo Tsang was born, I lived quite comfortably and had some friends. Aren't you afraid that they'll betray you? Lu Yin was interested. Second brother Luo patted his chest. My friends are all righteous men. How could they betray me? Lu Yin looked up at the sky. Given how cautious this fellow was, he definitely wouldn't have contacted any of his friends. Just as he had said, even if Luo Tsang made it unsafe for him to be in the three sovereign space, he still had some resources before Luo Tsang was born, so he should be hiding someone. That was more like it. If there was nothing, then there was no point in Lu Yin helping him. Thank you. Brother Justice. Please follow the wind, update 4 times a day. Zhang Daming. Thank you for your support, brothers. I'm too busy at the end of the year, so I'll try my best to update as much as possible. I'll continue to update tomorrow. Thank you. Chapter 2560. A day later, Lu Yin finally saw the true space of the three sovereigns. This region of space was not much different from the outerverse of the fifth mainland. Planets rotated and there were cultivators traveling through space. There were also battles and interstellar pirates. The further they went, the more prosperous it became. Brother-in-law, up ahead is the true Lower King Starfield. There's a saying in the Three Sovereigns space. The Upper King Starfield is the Emperor Starfield and the Lower King Starfield is the mortal realm. The meaning is that the Upper King Starfield is filled with nobles who are directly connected to the Emperor domain. Any family there can bring their influence into the Emperor domain, while the commoners live in the Lower King Starfield. Your space-time seems to be filled with servants of the Three Sovereigns, Luin said. Luo Lauer replied, that's my father's tyranny. Although everyone here is a servant of the Three Sovereigns, can he really use them all? There are too few people who can truly serve the Three Sovereigns. Back in Clifftown I told you that the Three Sovereigns had empires, but in reality many planets are not even connected to space. They don't even know what this space-time is called. Luin sighed. Yes, perhaps what we're facing is just a game in the eyes of some higher-level beings. Luo Lauer was shocked. Brother-in-law, that's terrifying. Luin smiled and did not say anything else. Luo Lauer steered the spacecraft in a certain direction. When he arrived at a region of space he searched for something and his expression turned ugly. He continued to head north and when he searched for something again, his expression turned even uglier. This happened several times and he finally heaved a sigh of relief after a long time had passed. It's actually so small. Soon the spacecraft docked. There were more than 10 planets lined up in front of them, forming a bustling city that stretched across space. As they walked through the city, Luin could feel the local customs of the Three Sovereigns space. He could see tricolored sovereign qi everywhere and many items were plated with it. Transactions were conducted using hui crystals, and the entire city sparkled with tricolored lights. The only difference was that their cultivation methods were different, but other than that it was not much different from the fifth mainland. Luo Lauer led Luin through the city with great familiarity, arriving at a tall and majestic building. Spring Thunder Academy? Luin looked at the building in front of him and looked at Luo Lauer in confusion. Luo Lauer laughed strangely. Do you like it, brother-in-law? What do you mean? Stop pretending you're a man. How could you not like this place? A brothel. Don't be so straightforward, it's Spring Thunder. This place is ruled by the Thunder Sealing clan. All places like this are called Spring Thunder. The Spring Thunder courtyard belongs to the Thunder Sealing clan. It's the most luxurious place for entertainment. Let's go, brother-in-law, I'll take you to relax. Luin didn't refuse when he saw the wretched smile on Luo Lauer's face and followed him inside. Speaking of which, he had been to similar places before and he wasn't a newbie. However, the Spring Thunder Academy was clearly different from the brothels he had been to before. The women there were bolder and more unrestrained, which made him feel uncomfortable. All he could see was a sea of white, dazzling, and the smell of rouge everywhere. How is it, brother-in-law? Aren't they beautiful? Every single one of them is beautiful. Let me tell you, the girls in the Spring Thunder courtyard are all carefully selected. Every single one of them is worthy of being called a national beauty, huh? Luo Lauer was excited. Luin placed a hand on his shoulder. Let's get down to business. This is serious business. Luo Lauer was at a loss. Luin tightened his grip, causing Luo Lauer to grimace in pain. I don't like to waste time. Luo Lauer howled and hurriedly said, Fine, fine, fine. Business, business, I'll get someone to do it. Get it done. At that moment, the ground shook as a sudden clap of thunder exploded from the Spring Thunder Academy. A violent gale swept out and sent many people flying. Luo Lauer's face changed. Something's happened. He quickly rushed over. Luin looked up and saw that his domain had covered the entire Spring Thunder Academy. Not too far away from them, 2 men were currently fighting. One of them had a sovereign's aura and thunder, while the other had a pure sovereign's aura that had a dusky luster. The shockwave from earlier had come from these two. Both of them were at the realm of humble attendants, which was equivalent to the fifth mainland's hunters. In the Three Sovereigns realm, a humble servant's strength was equivalent to the fifth mainland's explorer or hunter realm. These two were both hunters and they were only one step away from becoming servants. This was quite good for their age and they were close to the former 10 arbiters. Thunder exploded as one of them roared and attacked in a frenzy, forcing the other to continuously retreat. He was swept by the thunder multiple times and was clearly suppressed. Quite a few people were watching from a distance. Luo Lauer squeezed his way to the front and watched the scene with a heavy expression. The man using the thunder was about to win when he suddenly felt a sense of danger and forced himself to stop. A sovereign's aura swept past him, and if he had continued to attack, he would have lost both of his hands. The man opposite him took advantage of this opportunity to kick the man using the thunder away. Luo Lauer's eyes went wide and a bone-chilling look appeared in his eyes. Young Master Zhou Xian. Several people stepped in front of the man using the thunder and looked ahead with vigilance. Across from him, the man retracted his foot and sneered, "Feng Guishan, I told you that you're not my match. The so-called #1 person in the lower King Star region is just a joke. Bah, if someone hadn't interfered, would you have been my match?" Feng Guishan looked to the side where a group of people were coldly watching. He stared at a middle-aged man. "Wuxia, you're too shameless. You ambushed me as a regal attendant." The middle-aged man Wu Shenzhou had his hands behind his back and smiled. "A loss is a loss. Are the people of the Feng Guishan family so irresponsible? You don't even dare to admit defeat. You're despicable." Feng Guishan roared. Wu Shenzhou raised his head and looked around. "Who saw me?" Wu Shenzhou attacked. No one answered. Wu Shenzhou asked again, but no one answered. He looked at Feng Guishan and said, "Look, no one saw you. You're looking for excuses when you lost. No one will testify for you." Feng Guishan was furious and spat out a mouthful of blood. He struggled to stand up with the help of the people beside him. "All right, the outcome has been decided. I don't think the Feng Guishan family has any objections. So the Spring Thunder Courtyard doesn't need to exist anymore." The only person who spoke was a young man who was sitting. Wu Shenzhou bowed respectfully. "Young Master Bao is right. The Spring Thunder Courtyard doesn't need to exist anymore." He then looked around. "What are you looking at? Scram." With a shout, the people around hurriedly left. In the blink of an eye, the courtyard was empty and the woman inside was chased away. Feng Guishan stared coldly at young Master Bao. Young Master Bao stood up and folded his fan. "Guishan, I lost the bet. There's no other way." With that, the Spring Thunder Courtyard crumbled. Not only had it been destroyed, but the surrounding area had also been damaged. The Feng Guishan family would definitely seek compensation from the Spring Thunder Courtyard. Feng Guishan didn't say anything as he watched young Master Bao and the others leave. Around him, someone shook his head. The once glorious Spring Thunder Courtyards have been demolished one by one. Forget it, let's find another place in the future. The Feng Guishan family had more than 10,000 Spring Thunder Courtyards at their peak, but now they don't even have 100. They probably won't be able to keep the remaining ones. This isn't about the Spring Thunder Courtyard anymore. It's about the Feng Guishan family. That young Master Bao came from the Mu family from the Upper Monarch Starfield. The Mu family? That Mu family? Don't talk about it. This involves the Imperial Realms conflict, and it's not something small people like you and me can speculate about. Let's go, we won't come here again. Outside the ruins of the Spring Thunder Courtyard, Luo Lauer and Lu Yin sat across from each other in a restaurant. They looked at the ruined Spring Thunder Courtyard, which had been fine just a moment ago. Their restaurant had also been affected by the Spring Thunder Courtyard's destruction, and many places had been damaged. The restaurant owner kept mumbling about compensation, but he didn't dare to approach the ruins. "Tell me what happened?" Lu Yin asked. Luo Lauer's gaze was complicated and filled with hatred. "My mother's name is Feng Leixiao." That one name was enough for Lu Yin to understand. The Mu family represented Mu Jun, and they had obviously been influenced by Luo Zong to deal with the Feng Guishan family. "Where's your mother?" Lu Yin asked. Luo Lauer's gaze dimmed. "She's dead." Lu Yin looked up. Luo Lauer replied, "She died of illness." Lu Yin was shocked. "She died of illness?" Luo Lauer smiled bitterly. "It's funny, isn't it? She was Lord Luo's wife and she was a demigod, but she died of illness." Lu Yin nodded and didn't say anything. After a while someone arrived. It was Feng Guishan. When he saw Luo Lauer, Feng Guishan was excited and knelt down. "Ancestor." Lu Yin was stunned. "How strange. Ancestor?" Luo Lauer coughed and explained, "My mother is the younger sister of the current ancestor of the Feng family, Feng Guanqin. In terms of seniority, I'm the ancestor of the Feng family. Lu Yin was speechless. This was too much. Get up, Luo Lauer said. Feng Guishan stood up. Ancestor, why have you returned? It's too dangerous here, and the Mu family has been watching us to see when you would return. What, does the Mu family dare to make a move against me? Luo Lauer frowned. Feng Guishan was bitter. Of course not, but with Luo Zhang's support they're capable of anything. Luo Lauer sighed. Don't worry, I'll keep my whereabouts a secret. As long as you don't leak it, no one will know. Feng Guishan solemnly said, the Feng family swears that we won't leak your whereabouts. He then looked at Lu Yin with a curious gaze. Feng Guishan was actually about the same age as Luo Lauer, and if it weren't for their seniority he wouldn't have acted like this. As for Lu Yin, no matter what his relationship with Luo Lauer was, they were all different. This is my brother-in-law, Luo Lauer said. Feng Guishan was confused. Brother-in-law? Luo Lauer smacked Feng Guishan's head. How should I address you? What should I address you as? Feng Guishan was stunned and stared at Lu Yin in a daze. Ancestor. Lu Yin blinked. This was the first time in his life that someone had addressed him in such a manner, and it was quite comfortable. That's a good attitude, brother-in-law, Luo Lauer smiled. He was very attentive and Feng Guishan was confused. Lu Yin grunted. You guys can chat, don't mind me. Chapter 2561. Luo Lauer retracted his gaze and looked at Thunderseal. What's the situation like? Many regions have been lost and Mu Bao is even brazenly making an appearance. How did this happen? Thunderseal bitterly replied, I'm not too sure about the details. Let's go home. The ancestor will explain everything to you. Luo Lauer nodded. The Thunderseal clan wasn't too far from the city, so they quickly arrived. Along the way, Luo Lauer told Lu Yin about the Thunderseal clan's past glory. Now less than 10% of their original territory remained. My Thunderseal clan was once the strongest clan in the Lower King Starfield, or else we wouldn't have been able to contact Lord Luo. My mother was a gift from Lord Luo. Luo Lauer told Lu Yin many things about the Thunderseal clan. From Lu Yin's point of view, this was all too normal and it was the result of a power struggle. With Feng Leizhao's death, the Mu family had gone all out against the Thunderseal clan and wanted to take control of the Lower King Starfield. However, it was different from the Thunderseal clan's point of view as they needed to resist. Logically speaking, this sort of power struggle shouldn't be too obvious, but the Mu family had appeared in broad daylight and even used the Wu family's strength to deal with the Thunderseal clan. Thunderseal Guanqin quickly provided an answer. All of this started with the sudden appearance of a sovereign. That person's name is Xianxia. Lu Yin sat calmly across from Luo Lauer and Thunderseal Guanqin, who Luo Lauer had to address as uncle. The only reason Lu Yin was able to sit here was because of Luo Lauer. Thunderseal Guanqin sighed. Even though Xiaozhao died, she was still Lord Luo's woman, so no one dared to touch the Thunderseal clan. The Mu family only acted in secret, but they didn't do much harm to us. However, Xiaoxinji's sudden appearance changed everything. In the end, Xiaoxinji still managed to escape. We don't know what happened to him. We only know that Mu Jun was guarding the eastern border in order to guard against Xiaoxinji. But we don't know what Mu Jun did to make Xiaoxinji reconcile with the three sovereigns. Because of that, Mu Jun's influence has been growing. The Mu clan has been extremely arrogant lately, and it's all related to Mu Jun and Xiaoxinji. Even though I don't know what Mu Jun did, Mu Bao dared attack the Thundersealing clan in broad daylight, but I can see that Mu Jun didn't do anything simple. It was enough to make Master Luo turn a blind eye to the Mu clan's actions. Feng Lei Guanqin looked at Luo Lauer with a tired expression. Even if Luo Tsong wanted to kill you, Lord Luo might not interfere because of Mu Jun. The worst-case scenario had occurred. Xiaoxinji had reached some sort of agreement with the three sovereigns, causing Mu Jun's status to soar. This meant that Xiaoxinji could leave through the three sovereigns and even return to the fifth mainland. Had Xiaoxinji returned to the fifth mainland? In order to deal with Madman Lu, Lu Yin had no choice but to throw Xiaoxinji into the three sovereigns' spacetime. He had considered this possibility, but compared to Madman Lu's threat, the threat of a parallel spacetime was negligible. It was only later that Lu Yin had learned about the Six Direction Society and how they could enter the primordial space. Lu Yin felt uneasy and he had to go back. No matter what, he had to go back and take a look. It was fine if Xiaxinji went back on the surface, but there was also evil Master Mu. With Lu Yin and Elder Chan around, Xiaxinji might not be able to do anything, but if he went back and no one knew, then he would be secretly colluding with the three sovereigns' spacetime. That would be the biggest problem. The reincarnation spacetime already wanted the fifth mainland to take over the fight against the Eternals and draw the war there. If Xiaxinji lured the three sovereigns over, then they would really be in trouble. My father has always been good at weighing the pros and cons. If the Mu family dares to do this, then they must be sure that he won't interfere, Luo Lao said angrily. He then looked at Feng Lei Guanqin. Uncle, let's leave and go to the hyperspace with me to avoid the Mu family's schemes. Feng Lei Guanqin sighed. You want to leave? Easier said than done. No matter what, I'll send you away first. It's too dangerous for you to stay here. Staying here will only mean death. Luo Zong even killed his own brother, let alone the Thunder Sealing clan. Luo Lao still wanted to persuade him. Feng Lei Guanqin said, so what if you escape to the hyperspace? You're a hostage and will be protected by the hyperspace, but we can only be traitors. Let alone the Mu family, even the hyperspace will act against us. The six families have an agreement that traitors will be hunted down by the entire Six Direction Association. Lu Yin's heart skipped a beat. Traitors will be hunted down by the entire Six Direction Association? This Six Direction Association alliance was really stable. Did this mean that once the Genesis space became one of the Six Direction Associations and he was recognized as the master of the Genesis space, then the traitors he identified would be hunted down by the entire Six Direction Association? Luo Lao anxiously said, then don't go to the hyperspace, go to a parallel spacetime. Any parallel spacetime is fine as long as we leave. Feng Lei Guanqin smiled and was gratified. Uncle is very happy that you can think this way. You're really worried about the Thunder Sealing clan, but what will you do if we leave? You're already isolated and helpless. You've already been sent to the hyperspace as a hostage. Once we leave, you won't even have the right to be a hostage. You'll have no choice but to return to the Imperial domain. There you'll suffer a fate worse than death. Luo Zong can kill you however he wants and you won't be able to protect yourself. Luo Lao looked at Lu Yin. Brother-in-law, you promised me. Feng Lei Guanqin looked at Lu Yin, not understanding what this person had promised to protect Luo Lao's life from Luo Zong. Luo Zong was just a servant. Did this person have an extremely high status in the hyperspace? Lu Yin sat up straight. I won't go back on my word. If Guijing has the ability, I'll definitely let her protect you, even if she has to face Lord Luo's pressure. Feng Lei Guanqin didn't understand. Zijing? Luo Lao smiled. As long as I have brother-in-law's promise, it's enough. Shao Wei him. Feng Lei Guanqin was confused. He had only heard Luo Lao introduce Xianxia as soon as he got home. Luo Lao hadn't said anything about Xianxi's identity or status, and he had also said that there was no need to avoid him. Feng Lei Guanqin had thought that the two were friends who had gone through thick and thin together, but now it seemed that this wasn't the case. Luo Lao coughed. Uncle, let me introduce you. This is my brother-in-law Xianxia, Zijing's man in the hyperspace research team. He's the treasure of the Void God universe and he's definitely an absolute genius with an extremely strong master. No, he might even be the future Great Stone Sage of the reincarnation universe. Great Stone Sage? Feng Lei Guanqin suddenly stood up and stared at Lu Yin in disbelief. You're from the Great Stone sect? Lu Yin replied, not at the moment. Luo Lao said, my brother-in-law is currently being fought over by the Nihility God universe and the reincarnation universe. No matter which universe he belongs to in the end, he may become an extremely powerful human being at the level of 3 venerables and 9 saints in the future. Feng Lei Guanqin was even more confused now. Hyperspace Void God Universe Great Stone Sect. He couldn't have been tricked, could he? Lu Yin stood up. You guys talk, find me a place to rest. Luo Lao quickly had Feng Lei Guanxan take Lu Yin to a place to rest, repeatedly reminding him not to be negligent. After he left, Feng Lei Guanqin frowned. Xiaowei, who is he? You couldn't have been tricked, right? The Mu family has people in the hyperspace as well. Luo Lao waved his hand. No, uncle, I'll tell you. Elsewhere, Lu Yin was brought to a quiet courtyard by Feng Lei Guanxan. Lu Yin had left to allow Luo Lao and Feng Lei Guanqin to interact more. He also wanted to use this opportunity to think of a way to return. He really wanted to know what kind of agreement Xianxia had made with the three sovereigns. It was impossible to get past the three sovereigns, so the only person who could possibly know was someone like Luo Zong who could get close to the three sovereigns. However, Lu Yin had already thrown Luo Zong and the others into various parallel universes before Luo Lao had woken up. He had opened up these parallel universes at will, so it was up to them how they returned. Xianxi's identity had already left a mark in the Six Direction Society, so it couldn't disappear so easily, especially since it was related to Zijing. Otherwise he would have locked them up in Mount Supreme just like how he had locked up Longxi. However, it didn't matter since they could be captured at any time. Without Luo Zong, Lu Yin raised his head and looked in a certain direction, the Mu Manor. Luo Lao had said something to Feng Lei Guanqin, but when Lu Yin saw the old man again he was no longer as friendly as before. He looked at Lu Yin with an indescribable shock as if he was looking at the three sovereigns and 9 sages. His tone had also changed to one of respect. My Feng Lei clan isn't an aristocratic clan, we're just a bunch of people who fought our way up. We've embarrassed ourselves in front of you, Mr. Xianqi, Feng Lei Guanqin said politely, inviting Lu Yin to sit with him. Lu Yin replied, that's what I'm talking about. I'm also a wandering cultivator who was targeted by a sovereign in my own parallel universe. If I hadn't been coincidentally brought to a parallel universe, I would have been like that for the rest of my life. I can't even compare to the Feng Lei clan. Brother-in-law, which parallel universe are you from? Luo Lao was curious since he had asked this question many times. Feng Lei Guanqin scolded, Xiaosu, don't be rude. Luo Lao pouted, I'm just waiting for brother-in-law to become an extreme powerhouse and go back to his parallel universe to take revenge. Don't forget to bring me along, I love the drama of a gentleman taking revenge. Feng Lei Guanqin apologized, Mr. Xianqi, I'm just like that. I didn't mean to pry into your privacy. Lu Yin waved his hand, I'm used to it. That's right, uncle. Don't make our relationship sound so distant. Brother-in-law and I have gone through thick and thin together, Luo Lao said. Feng Lei Guanqin's expression turned solemn. Since the Eternal Race's spy captured you, why did she leave you behind? It doesn't make sense. Lu Yin replied, we're not sure either. Perhaps her main target wasn't us. Feng Lei Guanqin looked at Luo Lao and asked, who did she capture? Luo Lao leaned over and whispered, there's Bai Qian. Chapter 2562. Bai Qian. Feng Lei Guanqin exclaimed. They had been too focused on the Mu clan and Luo Zong to mention Tu Shuangshuang's capture. Feng Lei Guanqin was shocked. That Bai Qian? Luo Bro nodded. That's why I'm guessing that Tu Shuangshuang dumped the others and only captured Bai Qian. Feng Lei Guanqin nodded. It's not impossible, but based on what you said, Bai Qian was an accident and not Tu Shuangshuang's original target. Lu Yin continued, I think so too. Her original target was definitely not Bai Qian. Could it be Shao Qingfeng and the others? Luo Bro was confused. Lu Yin said, Tu Shuangshuang said that it was to capture those people, but there must be a key person who prompted her to complete this plan. I just don't know who it is. Even if she wanted to capture someone, she didn't necessarily need to release the others. These people are all valuable. I'm guessing it's that freak, Luo Bro said, referring to Saruzin. That freak has a high position in the wood dimension. Look at Mu Mu's attitude towards him. It could also be He Shu. After all, He Shu is He Rant's younger brother, Feng Lei Guanqin said. Luo Bro said, Shao Qingfeng is also a possibility. Right, stop guessing. It's all possible. Maybe you're one of the targets, Lu Yin said to Luo Bro. Luo Bro rolled his eyes. I know my place. She doesn't even care about me. Luo Zong is a possibility, but I don't know where the others are. If they came here like us, the Six Direction Society would definitely come and they could return. That's why they were thrown into another parallel universe, Lu Yin thought. Uncle, have you thought about it? Let's go first. With brother-in-law and Zijing around, I'll be fine in the hyperspace. Feng Lei Guanqin muttered, let me think about it. Right, how are we going to the hyperspace? Luo Bro asked. Every year we will send resources to you when you are in the hyperspace. This time you will accompany the resources to the hyperspace. Resources? Luo Bro was confused. Feng Lei Guanqin's expression changed. You didn't receive the resources? Luo Bro shook his head. The two looked at each other, their gazes darkening. With a bang, Feng Lei Guanqin smashed the table. The Mu family is too much. Luo Feng Lei Guanqin's greed. Feng Lei Guanqin. Lu Yin frowned. The Lightning Ceiling clan had been suppressed by the Mu family to the point where they couldn't even give out their resources. This path is broken, Luo Lauer said. He Feng Lei Guanqin, I'll find another way. 2 days later, the area under the control of the Thunder Ceiling clan was reduced again. Apart from the Thunder Ceiling clan, there were dozens of clans and forces of different sizes in the Lower King Starfield. They had discussed how to deal with the Thunder Ceiling clan at the same time, starting from all aspects. Not to mention other things, the women of the Spring Thunder Courtyard had been poached, making the Thunder Ceiling clan the laughingstock of the Lower King Starfield. On the third night, Lu Yin opened his eyes to find an expert. Feng Lei Guanqin, you think you can keep us here? Your Thunder Ceiling clan won't be able to survive for long, said someone mockingly. That person was a half-martial monarch like Feng Lei Guanqin. Countless buildings of the Thunder Ceiling clan were destroyed along with the collision of the 3 half-monarchs. Lu Yin stood in front of the window and watched, using the power of Lei Guanqin. He might be able to stop them, but it was impossible to make them stay. The other party had long since made preparations. Moreover, he looked further into the distance and saw that there were still experts hiding in the dark. Are there many half-monarch level experts in the 3-monarch space? There were actually 3 of them in the Thunder Ceiling clan during the night attack. Brother-in-law. Luo Lauer had arrived with a terrified expression on his face. He had specifically asked Lu Yin to stay next to him. Lu Yin was curious. Are there many powerhouses at the same level as your uncle in the 3 Sovereigns realm? Luo Lauer said bitterly. He should be from Mohe Courtyard. Mohe Courtyard? That's a defensive force that only belongs to the Imperial domain. Only those who have reached the level of demi-monarch can join. According to the records, there are a total of 15 of them. They will only take action when the Imperial domain is attacked by external forces. I didn't expect the Mu clan to invite the experts of the Mohe Courtyard. What exactly did Mu Jun do? Why would Lord Luo allow Mohe Courtyard to help the Mu clan? Luo Lauer gritted his teeth. Lu Yin's eyes flickered. A defensive force formed by 15 half-martial ancestors was truly ruthless. If the Mu clan could use the Mohe Courtyard, then the relationship between Mu Jun and Xianxia was even more complicated than he had imagined. He had to return as soon as possible. Less than an hour later, the 2 half-monarchs who had attacked the Thunder Ceiling clan retreated. The other half-monarch who had been hiding in the dark didn't make a move. He was waiting for an opportunity to kill Feng Lei Guanqin. However, Feng Lei Guanqin was very experienced in battle, and the more insignificant a person was, the harder it would be to deal with them. That person simply couldn't find an opportunity. The 3 of them didn't attack at the same time, probably because they were afraid that Feng Lei Guanqin would risk his life to drag one of them down with him. In the 3 Sovereigns realm, all cultivators are servants of the 3 Sovereigns. That's why Father strictly ordered that experts above the level of sovereign attendants cannot casually fight to the death. Their lives belong to the 3 Sovereigns, Luo Lauer explained. Lu Yin understood. No wonder the battle hadn't ended in less than an hour, so they didn't dare to stay any longer. Breaking the rules was one thing, but ignoring them was another. They were also afraid of attracting the attention of Lord Luo. Feng Lei Guanqin was injured, so he specially looked at Luo Lauer and Lu Yin and comforted them before returning to treat his injuries. He also promised that he would arrange for them to leave as soon as possible. The Mu clan's actions were becoming more and more brazen. After Luo Lauer left, Lu Yin let out a sigh of relief. Now it was his turn to make a move. In the distance, the 3 half-monarchs gathered and headed north without saying a word. That direction was the Upper King Starfield. Lu Yin retracted his aura and followed closely behind. In order to avoid being discovered, he didn't even ask where the Mu clan was. He only needed to follow these 3. The distance from the Lower King Starfield to the Upper King Starfield seemed far, but for a half-ancestor it was still a short distance. Lu Yin saw the Mu clan, which was far more majestic than the Thunder Ceiling clan. It contained a noble aura and was on a completely different level. The 3 half-monarchs directly entered the Mu clan. Lu Yin stayed away from the Mu clan and watched quietly. Not long after, 2 half-monarchs left. His gaze turned cold. there was still one left in the Mu clan. Adding the half-monarchs that the Mu clan already had, there were now two. Two half-ancestors. If he wanted to make a move without alerting the three sovereigns, he would have to think carefully. Lu Yin raised a hand, and a purplish-black substance spread out as he activated Indestructible Palm. His pupils changed and turned into rune lines that gradually enveloped the entire Mu clan. In addition to the rune lines, he also saw the space that had transformed into lines. He raised his foot and took a step forward, entering the Mu clan. The Mu clan was huge, and Lu Yin first approached one of the half-ancestors without alerting anyone. This person was hidden outside the Thunder Sealing clan. This was the third expert of the Thunder Sealing clan. This person hadn't rested yet, but had instead taken out something to look at. Lu Yin stirred up the lines in space and instantly appeared behind this person. He then struck out with a palm from the void. Void palm. The half-monarch immediately sensed danger. He hadn't expected to be ambushed in the Mu clan, and he immediately tried to flee. However, Lu Yin's other hand suddenly appeared and covered his face, making it impossible for him to dodge or even make a sound. Lu Yin's right palm struck the person's back and pierced through, shattering half of the person's body. The person's pupils shrank and he released his sovereign's aura in an attempt to resist. With his strength as a half-martial, it was impossible for him to be killed silently, so he could still resist. At that moment, the rune lines formed an impenetrable cage that neutralized all of the man's strength, and he only appeared in this room. Lu Yin's left hand that was covering the man's face exerted force, and there was a soft sound as the man's head broke. A dignified half-ancestor powerhouse had been killed in a single exchange. Lu Yin released his hand. It's not that I want to kill you. You can only blame yourself for being unlucky and choosing to stay behind. He then left without any intention of naming anyone else. After looting this person's resources, he left to search for the Mu clan's final half-ancestor. This person should be similar to Thunder Sealing clan and Guanqin, someone who held power in the Mu clan. Within the Mu clan, there was a huge courtyard filled with embroidery paintings. In the middle of the courtyard, an old woman with a head full of silver hair stared at the embroidery in a daze. "Madam, there's still no news." A pale-faced maid walked over with despair in her eyes, and her entire body trembled as she knelt down. The silver-haired old woman calmly replied, "It's already been 5 days. Where has poor Zonger been taken to?" The maid knelt on the ground, not daring to move. Beads of sweat dripped from her forehead and she was terrified to the extreme. The paintings in the courtyard were red, but this red was not paint but blood. This was the color of blood and every single painting had been watered with blood. "If Zonger isn't here, why are you still here?" The silver-haired old woman lowered her gaze. The maid was shocked and looked up. "Madam, please spare my life." But before she could finish speaking, a needle pierced through her arm and into the embroidery in front of her. Fresh blood flowed along the needle and thread, dyeing the embroidery red. The scarlet color was strange under the dim starlight, and it set off the old woman's gloomy expression. "Take her away." Someone walked over from outside the courtyard and habitually dragged the maid's dried corpse away. "Tell that person to make another trip to the Thunder Sealing clan in 5 days. This time the 3 of us will work together. I don't believe that we can't deal with that old bastard Thunder Sealing Guanqin. I want to use his blood to complete this embroidery," the silver-haired old woman said. "Yes," someone outside the courtyard replied. The silver-haired old woman closed her eyes. "Zonger, where did you go?" She turned around and a figure appeared in front of her. It was Lu Yin. The old woman was shocked, but she reacted quickly. She raised her hand and a 3-colored needle appeared in her palm, stabbing towards Lu Yin. Her battle experience far surpassed that half-martial monarch, and she knew that retreating at this time would only result in a passive situation. She stabbed out with the needle while releasing the monarch's aura. At the same time, countless mournful cries rang out. This was an existence similar to an inner world. The silver-haired old woman reacted quickly, but Lu Yin reacted even faster. He had originally intended to launch a sneak attack, so he smashed out with a single palm and shattered the needle. Under the old woman's incredulous gaze, he grabbed her arm and forcefully broke it. At the same time he pulled her back a step. The next moment, a card appeared beneath his feet, and he disappeared from the courtyard with the old woman. The entire process took less than a second, and with the suppression of rune lines no aura leaked out. Thank you brothers for your support. Chapter 2563. This card was the Lost Clan's Hidden Mountain card. Lu Yin grabbed the old lady and appeared within the card. She endured the pain of her broken arm and stared at Lu Yin. Lost Clan member? Why did you attack me? Lu Yin exerted force with his right hand and crushed the old lady's arm. The mournful howls around her grew louder and louder, as if a boundless sea of blood was pressing down on her. This sea of blood isn't even 1/100th of I Chi's. Lu Yin stretched out a hand and the old lady used her needles again, but they shattered upon contact with the purplish-black substance. Lu Yin placed a hand on her shoulder and slowly pressed down. She suddenly took out over 100 strands of her silver hair and formed a strange diagram that she pushed towards Lu Yin. Lu Yin raised his left hand and blocked the diagram. It's similar to a sourcebox array, but it's not powerful enough. At that moment, a silver needle appeared within the diagram and pierced towards Lu Yin, giving him a sense of crisis. This was a progenitor power vessel. Lu Yin casually took out a slipper and shattered it. The old lady was stunned. This was happening? That was an ancestral weapon personally crafted by Mu Jun, and it could pierce through the body of any half-true monarch. She had wanted to use it to kill Lightseal Guanqin, but it had been shattered. A slipper? The old lady glared at Lu Yin, but her needles and sovereign's aura were useless. She couldn't resist at all. Who are you? Why did you attack me? Lu Yin continued to exert force with his right hand, forcing the old lady into a half-kneeling position. Her shoulder cracked. What's your relationship with Mu Jun? What does that have to do with you? The silver-haired old lady was certain. Crack. Her shoulder shattered again, but Lu Yin raised his hand and pressed it against the old lady's head. Feeling the terrifying pressure, she cried out, "She's my sister, my biological sister." What agreement did Mu Jun make with Xianxia? Lu Yin asked again. The old lady's eyes flickered. She really wanted to know who this person was. This was clearly a Lost Clan card, but why had the Lost Clan member attacked her? You're not going to answer? Lu Yin exerted more force, causing her head to hurt. I don't know. That's a matter between the three sovereigns. I don't know. I don't believe you. If you don't speak, you'll die. I really don't know how to tell you. Then make one up, Lu Yin said bluntly. The silver-haired old lady stared at him blankly. Make one up? Did she dare? Could he make it up? As long as you can lie to me, I'll let you go, Lu Yin said coldly. The silver-haired old lady gulped. She didn't want to die. She was the head of the Mu clan and Mu Jun's elder sister. In the space of the three sovereigns, there was only one person below her. She was one of the few who didn't belong to the three sovereigns and had absolute authority in this space. She hadn't lived long enough. The silver-haired old lady was terrified when she saw Lu Yin's icy glare. She could not lie, as she would die if she did. Mu Jun and Xianxia have agreed to open a passage to the origin space. They will work together with the three sovereigns to control the origin space. They will split the origin space into two. One half will belong to Xianxia and the other half will belong to the three sovereigns, the silver-haired old lady blurted out. She really didn't want to die. The four-way scales will allow the three sovereigns to control the primordial space? The silver-haired old lady was confused. What's the four cardinal scales? Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. He couldn't tell if she really didn't know or if she was faking it. He could fool so many people with his lies, and this old lady had lived for so long, so she could do the same. Do you want to live? Yes, the old lady answered without hesitation. By your life, Lu Yin said. She raised her cosmic ring, but Lu Yin casually waved his hand and severed her arm, sending it flying and spraying blood everywhere. This was originally mine. I'll only give you one chance. If you don't have enough value, then die, Lu Yin said coldly. The silver-haired old lady kept thinking about what could buy her life. She thought of some good things, but she wasn't sure if they could buy her life. She didn't know who this person was or what his goal was. If she died because of a fluke, then everything would be gone. What was it? What was it? What could it be? Suddenly she thought of something and her eyes flashed. No, she couldn't give it away. Lu Yin pressed down. There's no time. Wait, I have something I do. The old lady cried out. Lu Yin frowned. I said, and spatial coordinates. The silver-haired old lady shouted out in fear. Lu Yin's brows rose. She panted heavily. In that moment she had truly experienced the despair of death. Everything had turned gray, and that was something she never wanted to experience. The more murderous and cruel a person was, the more they feared death, especially when they could enjoy an extremely luxurious life. Mu Jun placed a spatial coordinate in the Mu clan and located the three sovereigns' space. I can give it to you, the old lady said fearfully. Lu Yin was puzzled. Mu Jun isn't from the three sovereigns' space? The old lady gulped and shook her head. The three sovereigns' space civilization has been severed, so it's impossible for them to cultivate. We all come from the outside and our Mu family comes from a small parallel universe. No one knows where Luo Jun came from, but he worked with Mu Jun and Star-Lord to create the monarch aura, causing the three sovereigns' space to change. The Grim Reaper's imprint appeared in Lu Yin's palm and he inserted it into the old lady's body. This imprint can kill you instantly. If you don't believe me, you can ask Mu Jun to remove it. Of course, you only have one chance. The old lady was tempted and wanted to ask Mu Jun to remove the imprint. With her relationship with Mu Jun, nothing would happen even if she told him these things. However, she only had one chance, and if she didn't remove the imprint, she would die. This person could easily suppress her, so it was possible that he was a demigod, but it was also possible that he was a sovereign. If he was, then the chances of removing the imprint were slim. I wouldn't dare, I definitely wouldn't dare, the old lady said bitterly. With the old lady leading the way, Lu Yin saw the spatial coordinate that had been stored in the Mu clan. It had come from the everlasting race. Lu Yin had often wondered why humans didn't have such a coordinate seal. Perhaps it had something to do with cultivation or even innate gifts. As long as he left his imprint on it, he would be able to find the three sovereigns' space in the vast parallel universe and arrive there. Although this coordinate was located in the Mu clan, it was only located in the three sovereigns' space. It wasn't a portal, so Lu Yin wasn't worried that he would appear directly in the Mu clan's space. Will Mu Jun inspect it? Lu Yin asked. The old lady replied, he inspected it once 100 years ago, and the next inspection might take another decade or so. It's Mu Jun's habit. Lu Yin nodded. It seemed that he had to think of another way. Otherwise, once Mu Jun inspected the spatial coordinate and erased the imprint, he wouldn't be able to come back. Besides, even if Mu Jun didn't erase the imprint, there was no guarantee that the old lady wouldn't. She was afraid of being controlled by the Grim Reaper's imprint, but it was hard to predict the human heart. If anything happened to the Mu clan, it was easy for accidents to happen. Lu Yin didn't like leaving his fate in someone else's hands. Right, Wu Junshi, he's in the Above Heaven sect. The first time Lu Yin had met Wu Junshi had said that he wouldn't be able to return. However, Lu Yin had learned a long time ago that anyone from a parallel spacetime could find the parallel spacetime they were born in. The people of the cosmic tree were an exception, and he knew that Wu Junshi was lying. Wu Junshi definitely didn't want Lu Yin to know that he could return to the three sovereigns' space. However, after their conversation, Wu Junshi had been poisoned by time after absorbing astral energy, and he really couldn't return. Even if he did, he would be crippled by the time poison, so he remained in the Above Heaven sect. Lu Yin hadn't exposed him until the fifth mainland had used the progenitor's sword to suppress him and remove the time poison. Lu Yin had then used the Grim Reaper's seal on Wu Junshi. Not only had he learned more about the three sovereigns' space from Wu Junshi, but he had also ensured that Wu Junshi wouldn't dare return. This was the reason why Wu Junshi was still in the Above Heaven sect. With Wu Junshi, Lu Yin could go back and forth between the three sovereigns' space, and he didn't necessarily need to use these spatial coordinates. This was double insurance. Also, the surname Wu seemed to belong to the Wu family that had dealt with the Thunder Sealing clan. Lu Yin didn't know how this was related to Wu Junshi. Not long after, Lu Yin left the Mu clan and found the Eternal Kingdom in the vast parallel spacetime. He tore through the void and left. After more than half a year, he finally returned. He had gained some understanding of the Six Directions Society, but it was still far from enough. The spatial coordinates only allowed Lu Yin to return to the Eternal Kingdom. When Lu Yin reached the Eternal Kingdom, he immediately saw Qing Ping. Qing Ping looked at Lu Yin. You're back. Senior brother, have you been waiting for me? Lu Yin asked. Qing Ping replied, it's been less than a year, so it's not that long. He then brought Lu Yin back to the fifth mainland. As he looked at the fifth mainland, Lu Yin felt more relaxed than ever. The Six Directions Society's parallel spacetime was similar to the Fifth Mainland's, but in reality, the rocks didn't give Lu Yin a completely relaxed feeling. This was a subtle difference, and as time passed, this feeling would only grow stronger. It was just like how no matter how prosperous the outside world was, it couldn't compare to one's home. After bidding farewell to Qing Ping, Lu Yin returned to the Above Heavens sect. He soon saw the enormous ancestral turtle and hellworm. The hellworm sensed Lu Yin's return and moved its claws, but it didn't bare its fangs. At this moment, there was more than one progenitor in the Above Heavens sect. Aside from Elder Chan, there was also the dragon ancestor. Lu Yin was curious why the dragon ancestor had come. In the sect's main hall, the dragon ancestor's expression was ugly as he faced Elder Chan. This is the fourth time. How many times do you want to intercept him? The dragon ancestor looked at Elder Chan. Elder Chan replied, "The Path Master is in seclusion and no one is allowed to disturb him. Everything can wait until he comes out. There are priorities. If he's in seclusion for thousands of years, do we have to wait for him for thousands of years?" Yes, the dragon ancestor was unhappy. Elder Chan calmly sipped his tea and ignored the dragon ancestor. The dragon ancestor frowned at Elder Chan. "The pressure from the Yuan sage is increasing and he came again recently. He wants us to prepare for the war against the Eternals as soon as possible. Once the war starts, it will affect the entire Fifth Mainland. No one can avoid it, especially Lu Yin." Chapter 2564. Elder Chan sighed at Dragon Ancestor's words. "Senior, you should be well aware of the importance of a cultivator going into seclusion. Who will bear the responsibility if a cultivator goes into seclusion and his cultivation becomes unstable? We know Lu Yin. He never goes into seclusion for more than a year. Even though we don't know what he can do in a year, it's not important to him," the dragon ancestor said. Elder Chan replied, "Then let's wait. You said it yourself, it's only a year." "But the Yuan sage can't wait that long," the dragon ancestor said impatiently. "Senior dragon ancestor, when did you become a lackey of a Yuan sage?" Lu Yin's cold and dissatisfied voice sounded as he tore through the void and walked out. The dragon ancestor saw Lu Yin and scolded, "Junior, no matter what achievements you have, you shouldn't insult me like this." Lu Yin sat down casually. "Am I wrong? Who does a Yuan sage think he is? Why doesn't he come and urge me? The reincarnation spacetime and the 3 sovereigns and 9 sages are really impressive. He's so arrogant, yet he sent you. What a joke." The dragon ancestor said, "The war between the parallel spacetime and the Eternals is in full swing. Now is not the time to show off." Lu Yin laughed. "Have you forgotten how hard it was for us to drive the Eternals away?" Elder Chan looked at the dragon ancestor. The dragon ancestor fell silent. The war between the astral tree realm and the Eternals had never stopped. The Fifth Mainland had also been attacked by the Neo-Human Alliance and had been forced to unseal those from the Above Heavens era. For this reason, Lu Yin had even traveled through the void for 20 years. It could be said that the history of the human race's development was the history of the war with the Eternals. It took us so much effort to drive the Eternals away, but now they're coming back because of someone else's words. Don't you think it's ridiculous? Then what's the point of all our efforts?" Lu Yin retorted. The dragon ancestor's expression was complicated as he said in a low voice, "Everyone knows this. The fog ancestor went into seclusion because of this matter and hasn't said a word. Someone leaked the news and the entire astral tree realm is cursing us for luring the Eternals here. But what can we do?" He looked at Lu Yin. "The Eternals are at war with the Six-Way Association and the humans of the Fifth Mainland. This is a complete battlefield, and if one side loses, the other side will lose. When you were attacked by the Eternals, it was the astral tree realm first. And although I don't want to admit it, the reason why the everlasting race was forced to retreat is not unrelated to the Six Direction Association. It was because they pressured the everlasting race." Lu Yin looked up. "They're not doing this for us but for themselves. The Eternal Race's battle affected the Six-Way Association's parallel spacetime. When we lured the 7 sky gods over, they took the opportunity to reclaim their lost territory. We helped them, not the other way around. Under normal circumstances, the Six-Way Association and the Eternal Race should be in a deadlock. Why do they want us to initiate the war? It's because they want to protect their lost territory and gain a strategic advantage. They don't want to sacrifice themselves." If they don't sacrifice themselves, then we will. The Fifth Mainland finally calmed down, but we're initiating the war for the Six-Way Association. Senior, do you blame others for cursing you? There was a thump as the dragon ancestor stood up angrily and glared at Lu Yin. Nonsense. These are all your guesses. You've taken the initiative to fight many times. How could you not know the importance of a complete war? How could you not know that you can't care about the loss of a single city? The only reason you don't want to initiate the war is because the reincarnation spacetime participated in the banishment of the Lu family. You're the one who wants revenge. Lu Yin smiled. I will take revenge, but not through this method. The dragon ancestor lowered his voice. Lu Yin, if the Six-Way Association loses miserably, the eternal race can focus all of their strength on us. We won't be able to resist them. What we need now is balance. There's no such thing as balance, Lu Yin said coldly. There's only diverting the disaster and not helping them. He had overheard the conversation between Zhou Xian and the others and knew the Six-Way Association's attitude towards the primordial space. He had also learned the true reason behind the Lu family's banishment from Bai Qian. From the Six-Way Association's point of view, the primordial space was the main culprit behind the eternal race's rise to power. They did not care about how many people died in the primordial space or whether or not the primordial space developed. They only cared about the resource areas that they had already obtained, such as the drifting cloud space under hyperspace and Tai spacetime. It was only because the seven sky gods had all descended that the Six-Way Association had been given a chance. Now, if they wanted to protect those areas, they needed the primordial space to initiate the war against the eternal race. This was not a matter of balance, but rather a matter of allowing the primordial space to bear the burden of the war. In the past, the celestial sect might have been too arrogant to care about the eternal race, which had led to the eternal race becoming the behemoth it was today. From the Six-Way Association's point of view, the celestial sect was responsible, but this responsibility should have disappeared with the collapse of the celestial sect and the destruction of the continents. However, they had allowed the Lu family to bear the burden. Now that the Lu family had been banished, it was their responsibility. The Six-Way Association clearly did not think this way. They hoped that the primordial space would always bear the burden, which was why the cosmic tree could not join the Six-Way Association. They would never accept the primordial space. Lu Yin had reason to believe that once the eternal race completely disappeared, the Six-Way Association's next target would be the primordial space. After all, the Six-Way Association had been monitoring the primordial space for so many years. The dragon ancestor sat down. Lu Yin, I thought that you were someone who considered the bigger picture. I didn't expect you to be blinded by hatred. Lu Yin's gaze turned cold. If I'm blinded by hatred, then you won't be able to leave today. The dragon ancestor and Lu Yin exchanged glances. We will explain the situation to the Yuan sage. I hope that you don't regret this. The 3 reverends and 9 sages are not the 4-way scales. Lu Yin sighed. I feel sorry for you guys. You actually used outsiders to threaten your own people. In front of the eternal race, all humans are our own people. The dragon ancestor stood up to leave. Lu Yin tapped his finger on the table. Dragon ancestor. The dragon ancestor stopped and looked back at Lu Yin. Lu Yin looked back at him. The eternal race has been expelled. What you guys did, the Six-Way Association might do the same. You've lived for so long, so use your brain. The dragon ancestor's expression changed and he gave Lu Yin a deep look before leaving. After the dragon ancestor left, Elder Chan said, if the Six-Way Association's situation isn't optimistic, perhaps sharing the burden of the war is the only way. Lu Yin sneered. They're very optimistic. I've been to the wood spacetime and the void god spacetime, and each spacetime has a progenitor guarding it. They just don't want to suffer too many losses. He then contacted Wuxia and the fog ancestor. Let's talk about this when everyone's here. The next day, Wuxia and the fog ancestor arrived, and Lu Yin told them about his trip to the Six-Way Association in detail. The fog ancestor had not expected Lu Yin to go to the Six-Way Association. When they heard about the Six-Way Association's cultivation methods, they were shocked. The energy source and the feed technique, the innate gift of the wood spacetime, the void god spacetime's void god spacetime, the lost clan card, and even more terrifying, the seats of the reincarnation spacetime's 3 sages. According to you, as long as there's enough energy, they can create an unlimited amount of black energy sources? The fog ancestor was shocked. Lu Yin replied, you can say that. Of course, the requirements to create a black energy source must be extremely high, or else the entire reincarnation spacetime would have been overflowing with it. That's also very terrifying. They can give people the power to change the world at any time. The fog ancestor sighed. Wuxia also asked, can the three sages really be inherited? Lu Yin nodded solemnly. Yes, but this is also something that I don't understand. The reincarnation spacetime is a standard cultivation civilization, and it should be the same as us. We should take things one step at a time. An emissary has to undergo the origin tribulation, and it's not easy to reach the half-ancestor or progenitor realm. How can it be inherited? Elder Chan was puzzled. Who is that Grand Empyrean? Yuan Sage once said that he's comparable to a primogenitor. Is that true? Lu Yin shook his head. I don't know. From the way Bai Wang Yuan and the others treated Yuan Sage, the 3 sages and 9 sages aren't weak. Of course, that might be because they're wary of the reincarnation spacetime, but no matter what, the 3 sages and 9 sages are undoubtedly progenitors. From the looks of it, other than the 3 monarchs' domains, the other 5 domains aren't simple. They all have their own unique characteristics, the fog ancestor said. Wuxia asked, what do you plan to do next? Yuan Sage wants us to indirectly start a war against the Eternals. You know that, right? The fog ancestor asked. Lu Yin was certain. It's not that they can't handle it but that the pressure is too great. They want us to share the burden so that they can develop in peace. To put it bluntly, we're their shield and they want us to block the front. He then recounted the conversation he had heard from Zhou Xian and the others. Although Lu Yin was grateful to Zhou Xian, this was all based on the fact that Lu Yin's identity had not been exposed. Would Zhou Xian still treat Lu Yin the same way if he knew that Lu Yin had come from the origin space? Lu Yin hadn't thought that way at first, but ever since Bai Qian had told him the truth about the Lu family's banishment, he knew that the Six Direction Society hated the origin space. Their attitude towards the origin space had been instilled in them since they were young, and they would always believe that the origin space was guilty. The fog ancestor was furious. They really said that? They want us to fight against the Eternals and don't care about our lives at all. Wuxia replied, there's a reason why the Astral Tree Society couldn't become one of the 6 Direction Societies. Elder Chan sighed. No wonder you were so determined. Don't the 4 Direction Scales know the 6 Direction Society's stance? Lu Yin replied, they know but they don't dare to face it. Yuan Sage once said that Xianxia had paid respects to the Grand Empyrean. If the Grand Empyrean is truly comparable to a primogenitor, then... His face sank. What kind of status would the Grand Empyrean have in Xianxia's heart? What would Bai Wang Yuan think of the reincarnation spacetime? Would they still be the high-spirited 9 mountains and 8 seas from before? This was a terrifying guess. The fog ancestor and Wuxia both had gloomy expressions. Humans could be defeated but they could not be conquered. However, with the Yuan sage's attitude, Bai Wang Yuan and the others might have been conquered, which was much more terrifying than being defeated. Chapter 2565. I still need to continue to understand the 6-party society and that mysterious great heavenly venerate. As for the Yuan sage, there's no need to care about him. If the 6-party society really has the strength to spare to attack us, it will confirm my guess. Then we can't start a war with the everlasting race. I can assure you that the 6-party society's war won't be that difficult. If the situation really turns out to be like what the dragon ancestor said, I know what to do, Lu Yin said solemnly. The mist ancestor nodded and let out a long sigh. Why has the 5th mainland become like this? If the Lu family was still around, why would they be afraid of a reincarnation spacetime? At the peak of the 9 mountains and 8 seas, who could match him? Even Xiaxia dared to challenge a Grand Empyrean to a duel. Lu Yin agreed. Not just Progenitor Qin but also Progenitor Ku and Talisman. Who would be afraid of a Grand Empyrean? The desolate ancestor had charged straight into the Eternals, fearless of the one true God and the Hui ancestor. His scheme had caused the 6th mainland to collapse. If such scheming abilities had existed in the reincarnation spacetime, the 6 Paths Guild would not have existed. Sometimes a person's wisdom can surpass their strength. The banishment of the Lu family only happened after these powerhouses disappeared one by one. Otherwise, even if the reincarnation spacetime joined forces with the 4 scales, it would be impossible to banish the Lu family. They could not deal with the 5th mainland at all. Right, Xiaxinji might be back, Luyin said. The mist ancestor left. She did not want to get involved in this matter. Her stance was clear and she wanted to deal with the Eternals. As for the conflict between Luyin and the four-way scales, she would not interfere. Xiaxinji might come back? Why did he come back? The fate formation is still there. Elder Chan was confused. Actually, I can't confirm whether or not Xiaxinji has returned. He went to the Three Sovereigns space through Shenwu Continent's passage. Before that, the Three Sovereigns did not know that Guyu was in the Genesis space, but Xiaxinji's appearance today should have alerted them. If they have the coordinates to the Genesis space, then they can ask Xiaxinji to return. If they don't, then there are other methods. Xiaxinji and the three cultivators have reached an agreement. That's even more troublesome than the reincarnation space and time. That's one of the reasons why I'm sure the Six Parties Conference won't be so difficult, said Lin Feng. The three sovereigns had time to scheme against us and reach an agreement with Xiaxinji. How could they not have time to deal with the Eternals? Right now the most important thing is to determine where Xiaxinji is. If he returns, then Shenwu Continent will be in danger. Elder Chan immediately left and returned to Shenwu Continent. Wuxia also left. He was going to the four-way balance to see if Xiaxinji had returned. Luyin could not go to the Astral Tree realm as he would definitely be targeted by Wang Yuan and the others, and he would not be able to do anything. He found Wang Wen. It was better to let Wang Wen handle this kind of brainstorming matter. Wang Wen thought for a long time and suggested, go to the Three Monarchs space and find that old lady Mu again. Confirm the reason why the Mu clan is in a hurry to deal with the Thunder Sealing clan and who gave the order. Lu Yin's eyes flashed. The Mu clan is dealing with the Lightning Sealing clan because Luo Zong wants to deal with the second Luo bro. Wang Wen shook his head. You've been led astray by Luo Lauer. No matter how Luo Zong deals with Luo Lauer, and no matter how much Mu Jun's status rises, the Mu clan shouldn't make a move with such great fanfare. They even invited Emohi Courtyard. This is a slap to Luo Jun's face because the person they're dealing with is his son. I don't know what the Three Sovereign space is like. Perhaps that space doesn't care about family ties, but under normal circumstances, even if the Mu clan wants to deal with the Thunder Sealing clan, they shouldn't be in such a hurry. The Thunder Sealing clan is the strongest clan in the Lower King Star region. I think there's something fishy about the resources in this region. That day, Lu Yin used the spatial coordinates to go to the Three Monarch space and secretly found Old Lady Mu. She stared blankly at Lu Yin. It had only been a day, so why was he here again? You didn't tell Mu Jun? Lu Yin's eyes were filled with anger. She was terrified. No, definitely not. Why are you dealing with the Thunder Sealing clan? She was astonished. Was this person related to the Thunder Sealing clan? Lu Yin's eyes flashed coldly. Speak. She lowered her head. Mu Jun gave the order to destroy the Thunder Sealing clan as soon as possible. It wasn't Luo Zong. Lu Yin's heart skipped a beat. Wang Wen had guessed correctly. Luo Zong didn't. It was Mu Jun who gave the order. Why? I don't know. Mu Jun only asked us to gather some resources. What resources? Lu Yin asked. She took out a list and handed it to him. There were tens of thousands of resources on the list. Many of them are only available in the Lower King Star region, and they are in the hands of the Thunder Sealing clan, so... She didn't finish, but Lu Yin could guess that this was the reason why the Mu clan was so anxious to deal with the Thunder Sealing clan, not because of Luo Zong. Wang Wen was right. Lu Yin had been led astray by Luo Zong. He had thought that the Mu clan had acted because Luo Zong wanted to deal with Luo Zong, but they were two different things. It just so happened that the Thunder Sealing clan controlled the resources, so they wanted to deal with the Mu clan. If not for them, the Mu clan might not have acted. That was why the Mu clan had acted in such a hurry. Moh Courtyard belonged to the Three Monarchs, so how could it be used by the Mu clan? Luo Zong didn't care at all, which was something that Luo Zong couldn't figure out. Lu Yin threatened Matriarch Mu and then returned to the Eternal Kingdom, using Senior Qin Ping to return to the Fifth Mainland. Wang Wen said, Xiaxinji probably hasn't returned yet as the Three Monarchs' realms can't directly send him back. They need to borrow the power of a certain spacetime, so they reached an agreement with that spacetime. The conditions are the resources on the list. If it was just to deal with Luo Zong, the Mu clan wouldn't have acted in such a hurry. If it were me, I'd rather deal with him slowly and let the Thunder Sealing clan and Luo Zong torture him. The Mu clan acted too hastily. Lu Yin replied, "It's just a guess, a reasonable guess." Wang Wen smiled. "Yes, it's just a guess. Unless we see where Xianxia is, it'll be difficult to verify. However, I'm 90% sure that it's true, and I also know what Xianxia will do when he returns." Lu Yin raised his brows. "Find his clone." Wang Wen smiled and nodded. "He'll secretly return and find that clone. Then he'll attack Shenwu continent and ally with the 3 monarchs to plot against the 5th mainland. When that time comes, the 4 Libras will be able to act. With the 3 monarchs around, we won't be able to resist them." Lu Yin felt a headache coming on. "Don't you think that I've dug a huge hole for myself?" Wang Wen replied, "If you hadn't dug this hole, how would you have acted against Madman Lu? The situation would have changed, and adding Xianxia would have made a huge difference. I can only say that there are gains and losses, and it's not too late to make up for it. Besides, we wouldn't have understood the 6 Direction Society back then." "Are you saying that we should destroy the resources on the list?" Lu Yin asked. Wang Wen raised his head. "Muddy the waters. Our advantage lies in the fact that no one knows that we've already acted. We can hide in the shadows, and the enemies in the shadows are often the most terrifying. Besides, you still have another identity, Xianxia. You have to make good use of this identity." Lu Yin had also taken a liking to Xianxia's identity, but he had been captured by 2 Shuang, and this identity might become a little troublesome. Fortunately, he had thrown Shao Qingfeng and the others into a parallel spacetime, and it was likely that those people would have returned to their original spacetime by now. "How's Wei Rong recently? What's he doing?" Lu Yin asked. Wang Wen's expression turned strange at the mention of Wei Rong. "He's already a live-in son-in-law of the Wang family." Lu Yin was stunned and flabbergasted. "A live-in son-in-law of the Wang family?" Wang Wen smiled and nodded. "That's right. You don't say. That guy has good looks, but he actually hooked up with a woman from a branch of the Wang family and became a live-in son-in-law. We've also helped cover up his identity since he's just a branch of the Wang family, and his status is very low, so no one really cares about him. He asked me to pass a message to you." Wang Wen paused for a moment before continuing, "He'll give you a surprise." "Is that so?" Lu Yin's eyes flashed. Surprise. The Wang family had indeed caught his attention. There was Huang Quanshui Wang Fan and ancestor Gui Yuan, who was also a shadow of Wang Fan. In the 9 mountains and 8 seas, if ancestor Hui was the smartest, then Wang Fan was the most secretive. Even by Wang Yuan and the others had not been able to see through him. Sneaking into the Wang family was not a bad idea. "Right, Wei Rong was the one who spread the rumors about the Eternals' war," Wang Wen said. Lu Yin said, "Don't do that in the future. These small matters don't have much meaning and they can be easily exposed. If you want to give me a surprise, then hide it a little deeper. These things aren't enough to surprise me." "Understood," Wang Wen replied. After that, Lu Yin and Wang Wen discussed for half a day before heading to the 3 Sovereign space and returning to the Lightning Ceiling clan. The Lightning Ceiling clan was currently in a state of panic, and Lightning Ceiling Guanqin was trying to think of a way to send Luo Lauer away. However, he did not know that the Mu clan had no intention of causing trouble for Luo Lauer at all. What they cared about was the resources of the Lower King Starfield. On this day, Lu Yin did not see Luo Lauer, but through his domain he knew that Luo Lauer and Lightning Ceiling Guanqin were discussing whether or not they should leave the 3 Sovereigns' space. Luo Lauer confirmed that Luo Zong and the Mu clan would not let the Lightning Ceiling clan off. Lightning Ceiling Guanqin was worried that they would have nowhere to go, as it was impossible for them to control a parallel spacetime with their current strength. They could only rely on luck, and if they were unlucky and encountered a parallel spacetime that was difficult to survive in, then their entire clan would be wiped out. The possibility of that happening was very high. In a cultivation civilization, as long as one reached the Enlighter realm, they could tear through a parallel spacetime, but why did so few people do so? It was because the danger was too high. At most, only 1 out of 10,000 parallel spacetime could survive, and this did not even take into account the prerequisites of whether or not a powerful life form would appear in that parallel spacetime. If that were factored in, then the probability of escaping to a safe parallel spacetime was less than 1 in a million. Only a half-ancestor or even a progenitor would have the confidence to do so. Xianxia had relied on his strength as a progenitor to rush into Shenwu continent's void passage. If he had not been a progenitor, how could he have dared to do so? We might not necessarily be wiped out here. The Mu clan can rely on Mu Jun's influence to bully my Lightning Sealing clan, but they might not dare to wipe us out. However, if we go to a parallel spacetime, the chances of us being wiped out are too high. Lightning Sealing Guanqin sighed. Thank you. First thoughts, shallow thoughts, deep thoughts. Thank you for your support, brothers. I'll add more chapters, thank you. Chapter 2566. Luo Lauer said anxiously, Uncle, trust me. Luo Tsang definitely won't let the Thunder Sealing clan off, and neither will Mu Jun. Thunder Sealing Guanqin said in a low voice. I already have a way to meet Lord Luo. As long as I can meet Lord Luo, I have the confidence to protect the Thunder Sealing clan. At most, I will give up this foundation. And didn't you say that Luo Zong was also captured by Tu Shuangshuang? Just because you're fine doesn't mean he's fine. Luo Lauer was silent. That's right, maybe Luo Zong was killed by Tu Shuangshuang? After all, he wasn't on the same level as Luo Zong. Lu Yin retracted his domain, as the Thunder Sealing clan had yet to reach their most desperate moment. The plan that he had discussed with Wang Wen required them to wait until the Thunder Sealing clan had completely lost all hope. Since that was the case, then they would wait. If Wang Wen's guess was correct, Mu Jun was in a hurry to reach an agreement with a certain space-time dimension to send Xianxia back. Then the time it would take to gather the resources on the list would not be long. The Mu clan would still take action and they would not wait for too long. In fact, he could have disguised himself as someone from the Mu clan to suppress the Thunder Sealing clan or force Matriarch Mu to act. But since he was sure that Mu Jun would make a move, he decided not to. Sometimes the less one moved, the less one would be exposed. Now that he had nothing to do, he decided to take a look at the copybook. It was quite amazing to see the Fifth Mainland's ancient language in the Hexway training hall. At the same time, under the golden sky, the earth, clouds, rivers and oceans were all dyed golden, filled with supreme majesty. Many people in golden robes were cultivating solemnly, not daring to speak or smile. The sky quickly flitted by, like the silhouette of time, sweeping through the golden sky, bringing a dim color to this world. One by one they raised their heads. The golden light recedes and the great Yin descends. We respectfully welcome the Supreme Divinity. Welcome, Supreme Divinity. Welcome, Supreme Divinity. Countless voices reverberated as the mighty firmament force erupted from every corner of the earth, filled with powerful energy. Countless worshipful and fanatical gazes were raised, as if they were looking at the god of their faith. Heaven and earth suddenly stopped. Under the sky, the void distorted. A figure suddenly appeared and fell to the ground. This person was wearing a long golden robe, but he was in a sorry state. It was Shao Qingfeng. Where did you come from? The rumbling sound reverberated in the sky, like the evening drum and morning bell, waking Shao Qingfeng up. Shao Qingfeng couldn't care about anything else and hurriedly knelt down. It's a small spacetime called Kaisai. No humans live there, only astral beasts. Let's return to the Sixth Direction training grounds. We haven't finished our journey there yet. Shao Qingfeng raised his head. Master, is there anything unusual about this disciple? No. Shao Qingfeng was confused. He had clearly been captured by Tu Shuangshuang, so why hadn't there been any abnormalities? The sanctification disciples are at a disadvantage. A spy has appeared. I have already reported this to the Grand Empyrean and he will pay the price. As for you all, someone intervened midway so the spy was unable to bring you to the Eternals. Shao Qingfeng was confused. Then why did this disciple appear in the Kaisai spacetime? Who was the one who did it? The culprit hasn't revealed himself yet. You all appeared in different parallel universes. My guess is that the culprit didn't want the Eternals to succeed, but he also didn't want to help the Six Paths Society. If you die, you die. Shao Qingfeng's eyes flickered. Master, may I ask who else has returned? Let's go back to the Hexagon Dojo. The virtual god universe mentioned a very interesting trial. Wait for it, Shao Qingfeng said before disappearing. When he opened his eyes again, he had already returned to the Tai spacetime. Not long after, Shao Qingfeng confirmed that Mu Mu, Luo Zong, and Jiang Xiaodao had all returned. More than half of them had yet to return. Among them, Bai Qian and Xianqi were the most eye-catching. One was a transcendent figure in ultra spacetime, while the other was a genius that the virtual god universe and the reincarnation spacetime had fought over. Their absence had caused both ultra spacetime and the virtual god universe to feel uneasy. Ever since they had disappeared, many speculated that the Eternals were targeting Bai Qian, as his status in ultra spacetime was too high. Of course, there were other speculations as well, such as that this was just the first step of the Eternals' attack on the Hexagon Dojo. Others speculated that it was because of Xianxia, whose innate talent was just too monstrous. All sorts of speculations were prevalent. Xiao Qingfeng and the others were all confirmed to be fine. As for who had gotten rid of Tu Shuangshuang midway and thrown Xiao Qingfeng and the others into parallel universes, there were even more speculations. Someone even came up with a list of powerhouses who were not on good terms with the Six Paths Society but were also enemies of the Eternals. Zhou Xian and the others actually believed it, and they went to search for the culprit one by one. Ultra Spacetime did the same. Although not many people had been captured, their influence was great. Within the Three Sovereigns space, Lu Yin looked at the copybook with a strange expression. Back at the secret auction, the person who had introduced the copybook had said that everyone could see different things. Some could see battle techniques, some could see cultivation techniques, and some could even see strange scenes. But now Lu Yin was actually looking at a secret technique. Secret technique: burning ink. Life is like ink and nothing is burned. Wasn't this Wen Zhu's secret technique? Lu Yin hadn't expected to see Progenitor Wen's secret technique in this book. Progenitor Wen was a progenitor from the Astral Tree realm who had founded Yi Xian Academy. He was also an Origin Array Celestial Master. Lu Yin could not believe it. How could the dignified Wen Zhu's handwriting be so ugly? The words on this copybook were clearly scribbles, and even a child's handwriting was more beautiful than this. How could Wen Zhu have written this? But as he looked at the copybook, Lu Yin did indeed see Wen Zhu's secret technique. He stared at it for 2 more days, but he did not see Luo Lauer when he came looking for him. Not only did he see burning ink, but he also saw literary prison. The 7-fold literary prison was Wen Zhu's battle technique, which had come from Wen Zhu. This copybook had definitely been left behind by Wen Zhu. Wen Zhu had died in the Sovereign Realm during the war with the Eternals, so why would his copybook be in the Hexagon Training Hall? Suddenly, Lu Yin had a flash of inspiration as he recalled something, and he released Tu Shuangshuang from Mount Supreme. He did not kill Tu Shuangshuang. Since she was related to the mysterious Qing Kong, she would definitely be free in the future. Furthermore, he was interested in Reverie Bubbles not because he wanted to learn it, but because he wanted to find out how terrifying it was through Tu Shuangshuang. After all, he might have to face Qing Kong in the future, so it was best to be prepared. Tu Shuangshuang looked around and then fixed her gaze on Lu Yin. What do you want? Lu Yin raised a hand and opened the copybook. Tu Shuangshuang's pupils shrank when she saw it. It's actually with you? Lu Yin put it away. It seems like my guess was right. This copybook came from you. Did the Eternals give it to you? Tu Shuangshuang was confused. How did you know? Did you attack everyone because of this copybook? Lu Yin asked. Tu Shuangshuang stared at Lu Yin. What exactly do you know? Her gaze turned cold. You were the one who schemed against me. Since you knew that this copybook came from the Eternals, you knew that it came from the Eternals. The Eternals even deliberately leaked it to lure me out. So it was you. Lu Yin finally understood. So that was the case. Actually, Tu Shuangshuang had not attacked them because of Qing Kong's scheme. Lu Yin had found it strange that a progenitor like Qing Kong would plan to capture small fries like them. Even if Xiao Qingfeng and the others were progenitors, they would not be worth Qing Kong's schemes. If it had been Bai Qian, Lu Yin would have believed it since Bai Qian had an extremely high status in spacetime, but Tu Shuangshuang clearly did not know that Bai Qian would appear. Bai Qian's appearance had been an accident. If that was the case, then why had Tu Shuangshuang attacked them? It was only when he saw the copybook that Lu Yin understood. She had attacked them for the copybook, or rather her target was Jiang Xiaodao. To Tu Shuangshuang, the copybook that contained a progenitor's secret technique was extremely important. More importantly, the copybook could expose her as a spy of the Eternals. Thus, Jiang Xiaodao had bought the copybook at the secret auction, which naturally made him her target. The only way to capture Jiang Xiaodao at the Hexway Training Hall was to secretly auction him. However, that did not make sense. The copybook had been secretly auctioned together with the mountain. Tu Shuangshuang had used the demi-humans as a gimmick to hold a secret auction that could capture everyone. She should not have known that the copybook would appear at the secret auction, or else she would have taken it away long ago. Why would this copybook appear at the secret auction? Lu Yin stared at Tu Shuangshuang. Tu Shuangshuang angrily shouted, "Didn't you steal it?" Lu Yin raised a brow. "Steal?" Tu Shuangshuang frowned. "It wasn't you? What's going on?" Lu Yin was curious. Tu Shuangshuang stared blankly at Lu Yin, and after a while she bitterly said, "If it wasn't for you, I would have been really unlucky." He did not hide anything. She had already been captured by Lu Yin and she had no hopes of escaping. Through Tu Shuangshuang's words, Lu Yin was able to confirm his own suspicions. The only difference was that Cheng Kong had indeed been plotting against the six directional training rites. Of course, he had not only targeted Xiao Qingfeng and the others, but he had also planned to use a grand secret auction to capture at least half of the people from the six directional training rites. However, Su Xiangyin had requested to open the Shuang space in advance, which had diverted Cheng Kong's attention. Cheng Kong had given up on the six directional training rites and sent the Otherworlders to attack the Shuang space instead. The reason why Tu Shuangshuang had still taken action was because of the copybook. Her copybook had been accidentally stolen, and it was very likely that it would expose her as a spy of the everlasting race. Thus, she had pretended to be in seclusion for a period of time, but in reality she had been trying to find a way to obtain the copybook. It was only when the copybook had been secretly auctioned that she found out that Cheng Kong had still been plotting against the six directional training rites. She had thought that she could use that scheme to take the copybook away, but who would have thought that Cheng Kong would give up because of the Shuang space? She had been left with no choice but to act on her own. Fortunately, everything had gone smoothly. If not for Lu Yin, she would have already retrieved the copybook from Jiang Xiaodao and captured Xiao Qingfeng and the others. Lu Yin sighed. "You're really unlucky." Tu Shuangshuang sighed. He felt the same way. "Now tell me about Cheng Kong," Lu Yin asked. Tu Shuangshuang's gaze returned to normal. "Just kill me." Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. "Killing me is much better than revealing my master's whereabouts," Tu Shuangshuang said. Lu Yin did not say anything else and immediately put her back into Mount Supreme. He could see that this woman was determined not to reveal Cheng Kong's whereabouts, just like how Xiaji had said that he would not teach Lu Yin the 9 clones technique. Unfortunately, Xiaji had still been willing to teach Lu Yin in the end, but Lu Yin no longer needed it. Lu Yin believed that Tu Shuangshuang would suffer the same fate as Xiaji. Chapter 2567. Putting Tu Shuangshuang away, Lu Yin brought out Saruzin next. It was time to talk to this old friend. Saruzin walked out and met Lu Yin's gaze. "You're Lu Yin." Lu Yin was still in Xianxi's appearance and was surprised to hear Saruzin's words. Even though he had planned to talk with his real face, Saruzin had seen through him. "When did you recognize me?" "The first time we met in Cliff Town." Lu Yin frowned. "Cliff Town? You recognized me back then?" Saruzin replied calmly, "I admit that I have a strong will, but I'm still human and humans have weaknesses. I want to return to Earth, to the place where I started my cultivation. I miss the water and people of my hometown even in my dreams. You left a deep impression on me and I've remembered you countless times." "It's been so many years and you still remember me." Lu Yin smiled, restoring his appearance. Saruzin missed him, people of my hometown. Those 3 words warmed Lu Yin's heart. "Why didn't you recognize me in the Lost Dao Academy?" Lu Yin was curious. Saruzin replied, "The situation was special, I didn't have absolute freedom." "Did someone restrict you?" Lu Yin's expression changed. Saruzin shook his head, "Not really, just a test. Because I left my name on the Wood Humanoid Scripture." The Wood Humanoid Scripture? The Wood Spacetime Supreme Scripture, created by the Wood Dominator. Anyone who leaves their name on the Wood Humanoid Scripture has a chance of being accepted as a disciple. My every word and action is being watched. Third Master Mu? Saruzin shook his head. It's possible, not necessarily someone from the Wood Spacetime. The Hexagon Association is part of the same organization. Lu Yin thought about it. It should be Ji Bing. It's possible, Saruzin said. Lu Yin understood. Perhaps the academy he stayed in was monitored by the powerhouses there. When Tian Tu Shuangshuang attacked them, it seemed like Shi Jiao was the first to arrive, but Ji Bing wasn't any slower than her. He had hidden in the void long ago and the only reason he could react was because he was monitoring Saruzin. What innate gift did you get? Why does the Wood Spacetime care so much about it? Lu Yin was really curious. He had asked Saruzin this question before, but the latter had kept it a secret. Saruzin raised a hand and threads of turbid light flowed out of Lu Yin's body and gathered in his palm. Lu Yin looked on in amazement. He didn't feel like anything had disappeared from his body, but what was going on with this turbid light? Jenny Anna, do you feel guilty towards her? Saruzin looked at the turbid light in his palm and asked. Lu Yin's pupils shrank as a face appeared in his mind. It was a woman who was staring at him with a deathly stillness. Her eyes were filled with sorrow and desolation, causing his breathing to stop. You. Saruzin waved his hand to disperse the murky light. The innate gift I've obtained is called karmic retribution. Everyone from birth to death will feel guilty towards certain people and certain things. No one can live their entire life without guilt, and even children can feel guilty for certain reasons. This is unavoidable. This guilt and even guilt is karmic retribution. I can extract karmic retribution and turn it into damage to the other party. Lu Yin's heart was in turmoil. How could there be such an innate gift? How could he have such talent? It was simply unbelievable. Saruzin looked at Lu Yin and saw the shock in his eyes. I thought so too when I obtained this innate gift. It was unbelievable, but the universe is wondrous and such things do exist. Ever since I obtained this innate gift, I've been thinking that perhaps the universe is a quantifiable existence. Whether it's battle prowess, behavior, mood, past footprints, kindness, sins, etc. Everything can be quantified. Any person, any living thing, plant, animal, or even dead can be quantified. Or rather, designed. Whatever you've experienced will be recorded for you at an unseen height, and I just happened to be able to see it. Lu Yin's eyes flashed. Was it unbelievable? Indeed, but he also had the innate gift of dice. It was just as unbelievable. The general appointment platform and the investiture of the gods, which one could be explained clearly. Just as Saruzin had said, everything could be quantified and recorded. Then what was recorded? Was it the universe itself? Or was it some kind of supreme existence that surpassed the universe? Was the trajectory of human history premeditated? If even sins and guilt could be recorded, then this should be even more so. No wonder you left your name behind in the wood humanoid scripture. No wonder Mumu was so worried about you. Saruzin told him everything without holding anything back. This secret wasn't any worse than Lu Yin's innate gift with the die. It could see a person's guilt and read their memories. It was a terrifying innate gift. Aren't you afraid that I'll attack you? Lu Yin suddenly asked. Saruzin smiled faintly. He had never smiled before, but it was especially strange now. Some things are fated and you can't escape them. Lu Yin was puzzled. Was that so? He looked at Saruzin's withered arm that was raised high. This person's way of thinking was different from normal people. If he had revealed his innate gift of dice early on, he wouldn't have survived until now. Was this fate? No wonder he'd obtained this innate gift. I can see that you still have a lot of guilt in your heart. Do I need to remind you? Saruzin asked. Lu Yin retreated. No need. Of course he felt guilty. When he'd forced the Fate Maiden to perform a divination for him, she'd sacrificed many people to transfer karma. He had to bear this sin as well, and there were many more. He'd sacrificed a lot to reach his current position. The Hui ancestor was the same. In order to take revenge on the sixth mainland, he'd allowed it to be occupied by the Eternals. In reality, the unlucky ones were always the ordinary people. The upper echelons of the cultivation world had already moved to the fifth mainland. No one could live without guilt for their entire life. Not long after, Saruzin was taken back to Mount Supreme. He wasn't from the wood dimension, and if he was thrown into a parallel dimension, he wouldn't be able to find his way back. Since he'd left his name in the wood dimension, Lu Yin would find a way to bring him along. Lu Yin opened the door and came out. Luo Lauer immediately came over. Brother-in-law, why haven't you come out in days? Don't talk about seclusion, it wasn't that short. Epiphany, Lu Yin replied. Luo Lauer was speechless. He was jealous. Epiphany meant that one's strength would increase greatly. What, can we go to the hyperspace dimension now? Lu Yin asked. Luo Lauer replied, soon. My uncle has already contacted an expert from the hyperspace dimension in the Three Sovereigns realms. When the time comes, we'll ask him to take us there. Reliable. Lu Yin was uneasy. Luo Lauer replied, should be. One careless move and the whole game will be lost. I don't want to die because of you, Lu Yin said bluntly. Luo Lauer pursed his lips. I don't want to die either. A few days later, Luo Lauer found Lu Yin with an ugly expression. We can't go. The hyperspace dimension expert we contacted left. My uncle investigated him and found out that he had contact with the Mu clan. It's not safe. Lu Yin was helpless. How long do we have to wait? Don't worry, we'll definitely be able to go back, Luo Lauer said. Lu Yin's eyes flashed. Can your uncle contact the hyperspace dimension expert hide from the Mu clan? Luo Lauer's expression turned even uglier. Now that the Mu clan had their eyes on the Thundersealing clan, their every move couldn't be hidden. The Mu clan might already know that you're here, Lu Yin said. Luo Lauer's face turned pale and he went to find Guanqin. On the other side, Matriarch Mu's expression was just as ugly. She had received orders from Mu Jun to deal with the Thundersealing clan as soon as possible and obtain the resources on the list. This matter had originally been simple, but an expert had mysteriously appeared who seemed to be related to the Thundersealing clan. Now that their goal was known, would attacking the Thundersealing clan draw that expert out? She wanted to leave and lie low for a while, but then she remembered the Grim Reaper's seal in her body and knew that she couldn't escape. Mu Jun's pressure was increasing, especially since he had sent 3 monarchs from the Mohe courtyard. Matriarch Mu couldn't delay any longer. That day, the 3 monarchs attacked the Thundersealing clan at night and started a huge battle with Guanqin. Guanqin couldn't stop 3 monarchs and he could only stop 2 at most. Today will be the day your Thundersealing clan is annihilated. Guanqin shouted. Guanqin's eyes widened as he watched the monarch's aura transform into a long blade that slashed down. No one would be spared. Stop! Guanqin shouted. In the distance, Matriarch Mu took a step forward and stared intently. Would that expert appear? The giant blade suddenly stopped and Matriarch Mu's eyes widened when she saw a line. Wait, what was that? The Libra? Under the blade, the Libra soared through the sky and forcibly stopped the blade's killing intent. On the other side of the Libra stood a person shrouded in darkness. The 3 monarchs who had attacked the Thundersealing clan at night all looked at the person in the darkness. Guanqin also looked at him, but he didn't know who had suddenly appeared and helped the Thundersealing clan. Who are you? One of the monarchs held a long blade and pressed it against the Libra while staring at the darkness. A deep voice came from the darkness. Thundersealing clan's guest elder. Everyone looked at Guanqin. Guanqin was confused, but now wasn't the time to be calculative. I'll leave that person to you. Then lightning swept through the 2 monarchs in front of him. The monarch with the long blade snorted, pretending to be mysterious. Then his monarch's aura spread out, causing the blade to turn into 3 colors. Suddenly, the blade twisted and turned into countless long blades that covered the sky and slashed towards the person in the darkness. The person in the darkness raised his hand and was instantly submerged in the blades. Guanqin's expression changed. Not good, he wanted to help. This person was underestimating the Mohe courtyard's experts too much. But in the next moment, a shocking scene appeared. The boundless darkness expanded and covered the entire Thundersealing clan in the blink of an eye, including Guanqin and the other 2 monarchs. Wutian, a deep voice sounded in Matriarch Mu's ears. In the next moment, the darkness dissipated. The 3 monarchs who had attacked the Thundersealing clan at night had their heads lowered in a daze. Blood flowed down their bodies and sprinkled across the sky before slowly falling down. Chapter 2568. Feng Lei. Guanqin's eyes flickered. The moment he had been enveloped by the darkness, he had felt an indescribable terror, as if his life was no longer in his own hands. He stared at the person in the darkness in shock, his lips dry. Just what kind of cultivation was this person? He seemed to be a demigod, but he could defeat 3 experts at the same level as him. When had such a person appeared in this space-time? Matriarch Mu did her best to restrain her aura, not daring to reveal herself for fear of being discovered. Above the Thundersealers, Feng Lei. Guanqin scanned the 3 demigods and confirmed that they were unconscious. Although they weren't dead, they wouldn't wake up anytime soon. He approached the person in the darkness and bowed. May I know who you are? The Thundersealers owe you a debt of gratitude, and if possible we will repay you generously. The person in the darkness descended. Gather the Thundersealers. It's time to leave. Feng Lei. Guanqin didn't understand. Leave? The person in the darkness said. Mohe has failed. The next one to act is Mu Jun. Feng Lei. Guanqin's expression changed. Mu Jun will act personally? How is that possible? She's a sovereign, why would she act for Luo Ho? Luo Ho was Luo Lauer's real name. In the distance, many people from the Thundersealers looked at the person in the darkness with fear, including Luo Lauer. Of course she'll act. It's not because of Luo Lauer, but because of the Lower King's starfield, Lu Yin said slowly as he walked out. All around, the Thundersealers were confused and Luo Lauer's mouth fell open. Brother-in-law? Feng Lei Guanqin was just as surprised, but he wasn't too surprised. Xianxia? Lu Yin's lips curled up and he walked over to Feng Lei Guanqin. Let me formally introduce myself. I'm Lu Yin and this is my senior Qing Ping, the head of the Thundersealers. We don't have much time so we should leave. Matriarch Mu has already escaped, and she should be reporting the battle to Mu Jun. Perhaps she'll act soon. What do you mean by that? Mu Jun acted against us because of the Lower King Starfield? Feng Lei Guanqin didn't understand. Luo Lauer, brother-in-law, what's going on? Lu Yin's eyes swept across the area. There's no time to explain. You only have one chance. Either you come with me or wait for Mu Jun's hands. On the other side, Old Lady Mu had indeed reported the results of the night attack to Mu Jun. Mu Jun found it inconceivable. Defeating 3 demi-monarchs in an instant, even Qin Lu, who was known as the #1 demi-monarch, couldn't do it. Qin Lu could defeat 3 demi-monarchs, but it was impossible for him to do it in an instant. When did such an expert appear in the space of 3 demi-monarchs? She thought of Xianxia. Could it be related to that space? That's not right. Ever since Xianxia arrived, the Star Venerate had been staring at that spatial tunnel. There were no signs of it opening. Could it be that an expert had arrived by accident? Or someone from the Six Direction Society? Mu Jun contacted Luo Jun and decided to lay her cards on the table. She wanted to purge the Thunder Sealing clan and gather the resources to send Xianxia to that space as soon as possible. She wanted to unite the 2 spaces and find a way out for the 3 monarch space. Luo Jun pondered for a moment. Give up on the 3 monarch space? Mu Jun's voice was gentle, completely unlike that of a progenitor. Her voice was filled with charm. You and I don't belong to this space in the first place. Yuan Xing has sent word that the Origin Space's Sky Sect has made it clear that they won't start a war with the Eternals. Even if Yuan Xing has a way to make that Lu Yin compromise, it'll take a long time. After all, the Six Direction Society is under a lot of pressure right now. You were the one who agreed to our alliance with Xianxia. Is there any news about Zhong'er? Not yet, but Shao Qingfeng, He Shu and the others have all returned. I believe that Zhong'er is the same. He's not a short-lived person. That's good. Do you agree to the Thunder Sealing clan's matter? Luo Jun asked. Yes, but leave a trace of the Thunder Sealing clan's bloodline. Don't exterminate them. All right. Mu Jun stood up and took a step forward. Her eyes were cold. She was obviously beautiful, but there wasn't the slightest bit of warmth in them. It was time to put an end to the Thunder Sealing clan. Mu Jun had already rushed to the Lower King's starfield as quickly as she could. She had even taken a risk, ignoring the fact that a progenitor from the Eternals had appeared to ambush the border. She had only wanted to deal with the Thunder Sealing clan as quickly as possible. However, when she reached the Thunder Sealing clan, she discovered that the entire clan had disappeared. Only the 3 half-martial monarchs remained. More importantly, the resources that the Thunder Sealing clan had collected over the years had all disappeared. Quite a few of them had been on the list, and they were resources that could only be found in the Lower King Starfield. Other parallel universes did not have them, and mining them was very troublesome. This was why she had needed to act against the Thunder Sealing clan. Even Matriarch Mu did not know about this. Now those resources were gone. She quickly received news that many of the planets that had been mined for resources had been destroyed. The Thunder Sealing clan could not have moved so quickly. They must have been the one who had defeated the 3 half-martial monarchs in an instant. Mu Jun was furious and her aura swept through the entire Lower King starfield. She ordered all 3 monarchs to search for the Thunder Sealing clan. Within the Ionian Kingdom, the Thunder Sealing clan's members were all present. Qing Ping had accompanied Lu Yin to the monarch's dimension, and the Sage Celestial Master had been replaced in the Ionian Kingdom. When the Thunder Sealing clan's members saw another half-martial monarch, they were even more shocked. Feng Lei Guanqin suppressed his shock and waited for Lu Yin's explanation. Lu Yin also officially revealed his identity to Feng Lei Guanqin and Luo Lauer. Luo Lauer was stunned. The Genesis space? The legendary primordial space? Feng Lei Guanqin's face twitched. The master of the Genesis space. Lu Yin smiled. Calling me brother-in-law isn't a loss, is it? Luo Lauer shut his mouth and widened his eyes. Brother-in-law, are you messing with me? Aren't you just a servant? It's fake, Lu Yin said. I can fight with your father. Luo Lauer was speechless. Even if Lu Yin was hiding his strength, he was only a ruler's servant at most at this age. A half-martial monarch would be enough to scare him to death. How could Lu Yin compare to his father? Lu Yin did not elaborate on this point. Instead, he explained to Feng Lei Guanqin why the Mu clan was in such a hurry to attack them. Before leaving the monarch's dimension, Lu Yin had specifically ordered the Thunder Sealing clan to take away all the resources in their cosmic rings and destroy the ones that couldn't be taken away. This was to prevent Mu Jun from obtaining the resources so that he could proceed with his next plan. Feng Lei Guanqin was still afraid. He had thought that the Mu clan had attacked them because of Luo Lauer and that they would be fine as long as Luo Tsong stopped. He had even planned to find a way to meet Luo Jun. Fortunately, Luo Tsong had appeared, or the Thunder Sealing clan would have been wiped out. The Thunder Sealing clan has already escaped from the monarch's dimension. You can live in the Genesis space from now on, but the matter of the monarch's dimension still needs to be resolved. Luo Lauer was confused. Not long after, Luo Lauer listened to Lu Yin's plan. Feng Lei Guanqin was the first to reject it. No, Xiaosu might die. Based on what you said, Mu Jun must hate us to the core. Once Xiaosu appears, we're done for. Lu Yin said, Mu Jun wants resources that are of great use to her. Killing Luo Lauer is useless, it's just a waste of time for her. Luo Lauer muttered, you don't have to be so direct. But Feng Lei Guanqin wanted to say something else. Lu Yin's gaze turned cold as he stared at Feng Lei Guanqin, a formless aura crushing out. This was an aura that had been nurtured by fighting progenitors, and it wasn't something that a mere half-ancestor could resist. Feng Lei Guanqin's entire body was suppressed, and the pressure was no weaker than Qing Ping's skyless darkness. At that moment, Feng Lei Guanqin confirmed that this person might actually have the strength to fight against Luo Jun. This pressure was unbearable. He was already a half-emperor, and above that was Luo Jun's sovereign realm. What's wrong, uncle? Luo Lauer didn't understand and watched as Feng Lei Guanqin's face turned paler and paler, his back covered in sweat. Lu Yin's pressure was only directed at Feng Lei Guanqin, but he quickly retracted his aura. Did you really think that I saved the Thunder Sealing clan just for you to call me brother-in-law? He looked at Feng Lei Guanqin and Luo Bro. We're all smart people here, so don't play dumb with me. Luo Bro, I already told you at the Sixth Direction Training Hall that I don't like being used by others. Today I'll give you another reason. Lu Yin paused for a moment before continuing. Being used is mutual. Luo Lauer's expression changed slightly, and his gaze towards Lu Yin changed slightly. He still hadn't gotten used to the fact that Lu Yin was Xianxia and he needed to get used to it. Feng Lei Guanqin took a deep breath, his palms sweaty as he spoke respectfully. Lord Lu, is there no other way? Do we have to risk him? Lu Yin's gaze turned sharp. This isn't a risk, it's revenge. He's avenging the Thunder Sealing clan, Luo Lauer's siblings, and even himself. He looked at Luo Lauer. You don't want to be a hostage forever, do you? Feng Lei Guanqin opened his mouth to say something, but he couldn't say anything. The lives of the Thunder Sealing clan were in Lu Yin's hands, and he had no right to bargain. I'll go, Luo Lauer said seriously. Feng Lei Guanqin looked at him with a complicated expression. Xiaosu. Luo Lauer patted the back of Feng Lei Guanqin's hand and felt a bead of sweat. He looked deeply at Lu Yin and smiled. I'll do whatever you say, brother-in-law. After all, you're still my brother-in-law. You always have been and you always will be. Lu Yin smiled and patted him on the shoulder, the same action Luo Lauer had taken when they first met. I'll protect you and no one will be able to touch you. Domineering brother-in-law, Luo Lauer flattered, returning to his previous self. This time, Lu Yin had brought not only the Thunder Sealing clan, but also an expert from space-time. Qing Ping had found this person before MOHE Courtyard's experts had attacked the Thunder Sealing clan, and their goal was to use this person to go to space-time. It was space-time who had cooperated with Mu Jun and asked for the list of resources, as only space-time needed these resources. Luo Lauer's goal was to go to space-time. Space-time had many small vessels for the bestow technique, and one of them had a beautiful woman sitting with her legs crossed, her snow-white thighs swaying back and forth. Several people around her looked over from time to time with heated gazes. Across from her sat a man in clothes completely different from space-time's. His expression was gloomy and his gaze was calm. Chapter 2569. The sound of the woman's dark green glasses rang out. Everyone looked over, especially the man in front of her. His gaze was as sharp as a sword. "Sir, I can't bear your gaze," the woman said coquettishly. She tapped her glasses and a dot of light flickered inside. "Luo Ho." The man suddenly stood up. "Where is he?" The woman raised her hand to stop him from speaking. She tapped her glasses again and giggled. "Luo Ho, I knew you were fine. Are you finally willing to come back?" "Hee hee." Luo Ho said, "Sis, don't joke around. I almost died." "Oh, what do you mean?" The woman was curious and pressed her hand down again, telling the man not to panic. Luo Ho said bitterly, "Do you know where I woke up? I was in the Three Sovereigns space." The woman was shocked. "You went back to the Three Sovereigns space? Did you go back on your own?" "Of course not. That woman Tu Shuang took me away. I don't know why I woke up in the Three Sovereigns space and I was even at the border. I almost couldn't make it back. Luckily, I contacted my family and found someone to take me to the hyperspace." The woman said, "Your family? Your mother's family? The Thunder Sealing clan?" "Yes. It seems like the Thunder Sealing clan is quite powerful. Didn't I hear that they were always targeted by the Mu clan?" "Sis, you know quite a lot." "Hee hee, my job is to keep an eye on a hostage like you. Of course I have to know you." "Hey, there's no need to know. My family is gone." The man's gaze turned cold as he slowly approached her. The woman was surprised. "The Thunder Sealing clan is gone? What do you mean? They couldn't have been destroyed by the Mu clan, right?" "Of course not. How could that stupid woman Mu Jun destroy the Thunder Sealing clan? We ran away on our own. It's not like we didn't do anything all these years. We got one on the battlefield." He suddenly paused. "Sis, there are some things that I can't say. Anyway, I'm here to find you." The woman nodded. "Same place. Come on your own." She ended the call. The man frowned. "Where's he?" The woman told the man the location and he left. Not far away, someone was curious. "Why is Luo Ho still here? He should have disappeared with the Thunder Sealing clan." The corners of the woman's mouth curled up. "He's not willing to accept it. You don't understand him. He's hiding very well. He wants revenge, but if he disappears with the Thunder Sealing clan, he'll never be able to get his revenge. Otherwise, why do you think he fought so hard to go to Hexagon Dojo? Isn't he afraid of being captured by the Mu clan? Why were you caught? The Mu clan is targeting the Thunder Sealing clan because of him. He's a hostage and we all have a responsibility to protect him. He'll never know that the Three Sovereigns have reached an agreement with Transdimensional. He'll still think that it's the same hostage from before. Forget it, let's not talk about him." Far away from the vessel, Luo Lauer let out a breath. Life and death were decided by a single thought. Not long after, the man stepped out of the starry sky and blocked the path of the spaceship that Luo Lauer was in. He stepped out and took Luo Lauer away. The others in the spaceship were at a loss, not knowing what had happened. "Senior, may I know how I have offended you?" Luo Lauer smiled shamelessly when he was caught. The man looked at Luo Lauer and spoke slowly. "I'm sorry, second young master." Luo Lauer's expression changed drastically. "You're from the Three Sovereign space?" The man spoke in a low voice. "Fu Yuan from Moh Courtyard." Luo Lauer's face paled as he stared at the man cautiously. "Why me?" "Mu Jun wants to see you," Fu Yuan said. Luo Lauer struggled. "I'm a hostage from Transdimensional. Why should Mu Jun take me away? I want to see Transdimensional. I want to see my father." Fu Yuan grabbed Luo Lauer and disappeared, returning to the Three Sovereigns space. Not long after, Luo Lauer was left behind. He was very familiar with this place as it was the core of the Three Sovereigns Imperial region. Only the Three Sovereigns and a few others could enter. He used to come here often, but ever since Luo Zong was born, everything had changed. Luo Ho. A woman was sitting on a huge flight of stairs. She looked calm, but her eyes were cold enough to freeze the starry sky. She was extremely beautiful. It was Mu Jun. Luo Lauer slowly raised his head and looked at the unreachable position. He didn't know why, but this scene overlapped with the first time he had seen he ran. It was also a flight of stairs, but this flight of stairs was full of dignity. He ran's flight of stairs wasn't as majestic, but there was a huge gap that could never be crossed. Mu Jun, Luo Lauer's voice was heavy as he bowed. Mu Jun looked down coldly. Where did the Thundersealing clan go? Luo Lauer was confused. Thundersealing clan? Aren't they in the King's Starfield? Mu Jun's gaze grew colder. Lord Luo wanted me to preserve a trace of the Thundersealing clan's bloodline. You have half of the Thundersealing clan's bloodline, but you have to tell me where they are. Luo Lauer clenched his fists. I'm Lord Luo's son. Mu Jun smiled. So you're also my son. I will protect you, but you have to tell me where they are. Luo Lauer was confused. Why do you want to find them? Luo Zong wants me dead. What does that have to do with them? Mu Jun looked at Luo Lauer. It must have been hard for you all these years. Luo Lauer's body trembled, but he didn't say anything. I just need to find the Thundersealing clan. Once I find them, you can come back. I guarantee that no one will do anything to you. You will always be the second young master of the Three Monarchs universe and Luo Zhang's second brother. This is my guarantee to you, said Mu Jun. Luo Lauer's thoughts were conflicted. His eyes flickered as if he was hesitating. It's just the Thundersealing clan. At most I can spare Fenglei Guanqin's life. He's your uncle. What do the others have to do with you? You're their ancestor. If you want them to die, they have to die. Isn't that right? Mu Jun's voice was very tempting, and Luo Lauer couldn't help but think in the direction she was talking about. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that she was right. He was the ancestor of the Thundersealing clan. If he wanted them to die, they had to die. The more he thought about it, the redder his eyes became. It was an abnormal red. He suddenly looked up. I'll take you there. Mu Jun's eyes lit up. It was too easy to control a little guy. Thinking about it, she smiled charmingly. That's my good son. Then she appeared beside Luo Lauer. Let's go. She couldn't wait to get the resources and send Xianxia to the origin space. Then she would occupy the origin space and become the new territory of the Three Monarchs. Compared to this universe, the origin space was much, much better. For this goal, it didn't matter even if she spared Luo Lauer's life. He was just a piece of trash. Luo Lauer used his energy to tear open the void and found the country of eternity. He took Mu Jun with him and stepped in. Mu Jun instantly appeared in the country of eternity and saw the 7 broken towers in the distance. She saw the shattered ground and sensed the endless deathly aura underground. What was this? Mu Jun? Mournful screams came from below. Mu Jun turned her attention away from the deathly aura underground and saw the stunned members of the Thundersealing clan in the distance. Her expression was cold as she threw Luo Lauer down and disappeared. When she reappeared, she was in front of Thundersealing Guanqin. Thundersealing Guanqin's face was ashen as he looked at Mu Jun in fear and despair. Thundersealing Guanqin was standing beside him. How did you find this place? Mu Jun was puzzled. She kept feeling that the underground energy was making her heart palpitate. This shouldn't be, as she was Mu Jun, a sovereign. Thundersealing Guanqin gulped. Unintentionally. Unintentionally? Mu Jun frowned. She didn't care about the Thundersealing clan anymore. They couldn't escape. She was more concerned about the deathly aura underground. The more she looked at it, the more frightened she became. At that moment, the deathly aura underground surged as if something huge had appeared. Mu Jun was on guard as she stared at the ground. Behind her, Thundersealing Guanqin suddenly attacked. At such a close distance, his palm struck Mu Jun without any resistance. Mu Jun's sovereign aura instinctively blocked the attack, but it produced a suffocating aura that sent Thundersealing Guanqin flying. Mu Jun was struck by Thundersealing Guanqin's palm and was forced to retreat a few steps. When she looked back, she couldn't believe her eyes. Was this a hidden sovereign? 3 streams of energy appeared on Thundersealing Guanqin's body, and they all took human form to attack Mu Jun. Mu Jun snorted coldly. She had no intention of fighting back. Since she knew it was a trap and her opponent had dared to set it up, it meant that they were confident. She wasn't Xianxia who would jump into a trap despite knowing it was. Even though her opponent was at the same level as her, if she wanted to leave, they wouldn't be able to stop her. It was a waste of resources. Mu Jun tore through the void and glanced at Luo Lauer. She saw the hatred in his eyes. I killed your mother. Luo Laoer's eyes widened and they were filled with coldness. Mu Jun sneered and was about to take a step forward and leave this place. As for who had set the trap and who this unknown sovereign was, there was no need to know. Only the 3 sovereigns could resist this enemy, so she was more cautious than anyone else. However, she had overestimated herself, or rather she had underestimated the person who had set the trap. Just as she was about to take a step forward, her body inexplicably retreated from the torn void, as if her previous movement had suddenly disappeared. This was tracing back to the past. Wuxia walked out and his relic slammed towards Mu Jun. Mu Jun was shocked. Who are you? Countless silver needles imprinted with a sovereign's aura appeared around her. There were more than 10,000 of them and they formed a diagram that Mu Jun pushed towards the relic. There was a loud boom and the kingdom of eternity trembled. This place had already experienced the battle between Lu Yin and the Gui Yuan ancestor, and now it was experiencing another battle. Wuxia was stunned. A diagram formed from silver needles had actually blocked his relic? Just as he thought about it, the diagram shattered and Mu Jun was forced to retreat. Her body flickered as silver needles appeared around her, covering the entire kingdom of eternity in the blink of an eye. This was a power similar to the ancestral worlds, and countless silver needles replaced the sky as if they were a starry sky. Under Mu Jun's guidance, they pressed down on the entire kingdom of eternity. Thunder Sealing Guanqin and the others were shocked. They couldn't resist this power as it was something that they would never be able to withstand. This was a sovereign's power that could easily destroy anything. Chapter 2570. At that moment, Elder Chan, who had disguised himself as the Sealing Thunder Ghost Mountain, returned to his original appearance. There were 3 streams of energy in front of him. The first one unleashed an extremely cold energy that froze countless silver needles and restrained Mu Jun's ancestral world. The second stream of energy raised a hand, and the ground was swept up, forming a needle that pierced towards Mu Jun. This was the Xidagarba needle, which came from Lu Tianyi, who had been transformed by the ancestral qi of the 3 sons. Ever since Elder Chan had broken through the ancestral realm, he had revealed Lu Tianyi several times, but he had never revealed his true strength. This was the first time. The Xidagarba needle pierced through Mu Jun's ancestral world, and under her incredulous gaze, it pierced through her shoulder. Mu Jun was aghast. How was this possible? Not only had the needle broken through her diagram, but it had also pierced through her body. She was wearing a power vessel, and even Lord Luo would find it difficult to injure her while breaking through the diagram. He had to leave. She could not stay. Mu Jun once again tore through the void to escape, but she did not notice that a formless stream of energy had appeared around her. This was a source box array that had come from Elder Chan's 3rd young ancestral qi, progenitor Hui. This array had caused Lu Yin to despair during the sovereign tournament, where he had been completely suppressed by the prime clear lineage. If not for the Reaper's transformation, Lu Yin would not have been able to break through this array. There were too few people at the same level who could break through this array, and progenitor Hui was not weak. Mu Jun shouted, "Have you thought about the consequences of attacking me? The 6 forces will not let you off." At that moment Lu Yin looked up from underground. He had already taken out the Grim Reaper Golien and raised it up high, splitting the deathly energy in 2. Mu Jun saw this and her eyes narrowed. Even though Lu Yin did not have the power of a progenitor at this moment, she felt her heart palpitate the most. She did not hesitate to completely release her monarch's aura, and a glass bottle appeared above her head. It devoured everything around it, causing the Xidagarba seal to distort. This was her innate gift and she had rarely used it even in the 3 monarchs space. The seal of roughing seemed to be unstable. Seizing this opportunity, Mu Jun tore open the void. However, Wuxia attacked again, still tracing back to the past, directly denying everything that had happened at Mu Jun's location. He denied the seal of roughing, denied the glass bottle, and also denied the void that Mu Jun had torn open. However, ancient tracing was not invincible. It could only negate for a moment. Mu Jun was prepared. When the void recovered, she attacked again. Wuxia's battle skill could not be used continuously. This kind of battle skill was beyond her knowledge. The more it was so, the more it could not be used frequently. But it was enough. Tracing back to the past had delayed Mu Jun for a second, and in the next second, a path appeared between her and the torn void. It was a quiet path and it was Elder Chan's ancestral world. Due to the poison of time, Elder Chan and Ancestor Pa could only shatter their inner worlds and rebuild them after breaking them down. They reshaped this quiet path. He had once said that he would assist Lu Yin, which was why this quiet path had been created. The path's only use was to send someone off. Lu Yin was the one who was sent off. It ignored space and sent Lu Yin to Mu Jun. Mu Jun stared blankly at Lu Yin. She had seen this person before. According to the information provided by the Yuan sage, he was the Dao master of the heavenly sect in the origin space. He was the person they had discussed with Xianxia about joining forces to deal with. Was this a trap he had set? Why would he join hands with the Thunder Sealing clan? Why was there such a trap? How did he do it? When had he schemed against her? Countless questions appeared in Mu Jun's mind, but they were replaced by intense pain that spread throughout her body. She also felt a terrifying pressure as the power of the Death God entered her body. Lu Yin had used Death God Golian to kill Mu Jun. Not only had he caused her great injuries, but he had also used the power of the Death God to invade her body. Without the suppression of the Death God's power, how could a dignified progenitor control her? Mu Jun fell heavily from the sky. She crashed to the ground. This scene shocked the members of the Thunder Sealing clan. For so many years the three sovereigns had controlled spacetime and were invincible. Everyone in the three sovereigns' spacetime had thought that their control would last forever. But now Mu Jun had been severely injured in front of them. This was a shock that they would never forget for the rest of their lives. Luo Lauer's body trembled. Was this the excitement of revenge? No, he hadn't personally taken revenge. This was excitement, admiration, and a desire to obtain something. He longed for the power to injure Mu Jun. He stared blankly at Mu Jun, whose hair was soaked in blood, and walked over step by step. This high and mighty woman who had suppressed him to the point of suffocation had fallen just like that. Lu Yin exhaled, put away Death God Golian, and descended. Elder Chan and Wuxia both landed. This woman isn't weak. Elder Chan sighed. If you hadn't intervened twice, she definitely wouldn't have been left behind. Wuxia replied, she's a progenitor after all. Lu Yin moved his arm. So what if she's a progenitor? She still fell. Thank you, senior. Wuxia looked at Lu Yin. The three sovereigns' spacetime cannot become a weakness for the Eternals to break through the human race. Lu Yin solemnly replied, don't worry. Without Mu Jun, someone will have to take her place. This responsibility will be given to Xianxia since he's coincidentally in the three sovereigns' space. This was the plan that Lu Yin had discussed with Wang Wen. They would use Luo Lauer to lure Mu Jun over and capture her. This would cause a weakness in the three sovereigns' spacetime and force Xianxia by Wang Yuan and the others to reinforce the three sovereigns' spacetime. This way the fifth mainland would have nothing to worry about. Of course, if the situation worsened, Lu Yin would release Mu Jun. In any case, the initiative was already in his hands. This plan wasn't perfect. If Mu Jun, Star-Lord, or Luo Lauer all arrived at the same time, or if Mu Jun gave up on those resources, or if any changes occurred midway, then it could lead to failure. However, there was no such thing as a perfect plan in this universe. The Hui ancestors' scheme against the sixth mainland had gone awry, causing the fifth mainland to be threatened by the sixth and have no choice but to hold the sovereign tournament. Lu Yin knew that he wasn't as calculative as the Hui ancestor, so it was impossible for this plan to be perfect. As long as it was feasible, then it could be carried out. Cough cough. Mu Jun coughed up blood and opened her eyes, but all she saw was blood. Let me formally introduce myself. I'm Lu Yin. Welcome to the starter space, Mu Jun. Lu Yin smiled. Mu Jun looked at him, then at Elder Chan and Wuxia. Why are you colluding with the Thunder Sealing clan? This is called cooperation. Lu Yin squatted in front of Mu Jun and looked at her pale face. Actually, you're the first progenitor I've captured, but you won't be the last. A good show is about to begin. Behind them, Luo Lauer watched this scene. In the future, he would also become such a person. Half a month later, the three sovereign space was attacked by the Eternals. The god of Forgotten Ruins personally took action. Luo Jun and Xing Jun frantically searched for Mu Jun, but they couldn't find her. In the end, they had to join forces with Xianxia to barely stop the god of Forgotten Ruins. After the battle, Luo Jun stood outside the Thunder Sealing clan's ruins with a gloomy expression. Granny Mu trembled in fear and didn't dare to speak. Zong, Has returned. He's at the Hexagon training ground, Luo Jun said. Granny Mu heaved a sigh of relief, but then she thought of Mu Jun and her heart skipped a beat. But little Mu is missing. Can anyone tell me what happened? Luo Jun's expression was gloomy. Granny Mu's heart skipped a beat as she thought of the person who had controlled her. Was it him? She couldn't think of anyone else who would attack Mu Jun, but did he have the strength to do so? Luo Jun looked up at the sky. The Thunder Ceiling clan escaped, and little Mu returned to the hyperspace. It would be fine if little Mu didn't know about Xianxia, but if she did, then she returned to the hyperspace. This is a conspiracy against little Mu. Granny Mu's eyes flashed. It had to be him. She had told him those things and he had asked about the Thunder Ceiling clan. It had to be him. She really wanted to tell Luo Jun and hope that he could help Mu Jun return, but she knew nothing about that person. The only clue might be the Thunder Ceiling clan, but they were already gone. Granny Mu regretted it. She should have warned Mu Jun. She could die, but nothing could happen to Mu Jun otherwise. The Mu clan would end up like the Thunder Ceiling clan. At that moment a figure walked out. Mu Jun still hasn't been found? This person was Xianxia. His expression was ugly. Luo Jun said, "There's no trace." Then what should I do? Xianxia frowned. Luo Jun said, "I'll do my best to gather resources and give them to the hyperspace so that they can send you back." Xianxia looked at Luo Jun's back. Send him back? Was that even possible? If Mu Jun was still here, the three sovereigns wouldn't be afraid of the god of oblivion. However, Mu Jun had suddenly disappeared. If he was sent away, how could Luo Jun and Xingjun resist the god of oblivion? Xianxia was even more convinced that Luo Jun would do his best to keep him in the Three Sovereigns universe and help them resist the Eternals. He didn't want to stay here. You, me, and Xingjun can temporarily stop the god of oblivion, but we're scattered and can't use the Three Sovereigns' great formation. Once the god of oblivion becomes serious, this universe will be in trouble, Xianxia said. Luo Jun looked at him. Do you have a plan? Xianxia replied, if Mu Jun really disappears we can't stop him, but we can get someone else to do it. You mean? The Above Heavens sect. Luo Jun shook his head. That son of the Lu family has made it clear that he won't take part in the war against the Eternals. Even the Yuan sages can't do anything about it. According to our previous discussion, let me go back. I'll open a passage from Shenwu continent to this universe, Xianxia said. Luo Jun's gaze was calm. Just as Xianxia had guessed, he didn't plan on letting this person go. Xianxia left, what would happen to this universe? Once Mu Jun disappeared and Xianxia returned, it would be questionable whether they would continue to cooperate. Furthermore, the Above Heavens sect wasn't easy to deal with. Luo Jun had to ensure that he had a backup plan, or else he wouldn't let Xianxia leave. It was a pity that the parallel universes that he had conquered were too weak, and they couldn't compare to the Genesis space. There's another way. Xianxia looked at Luo Jun. My Cosmic Tree Society can also send people to this universe. Luo Jun was stunned. Xianxia was helpless. If possible, he would have pushed Lu Yin out to deal with both the Eternals and the Lu family's hidden danger. However, Lu Yin was too ruthless and had actually ignored the reincarnation spacetime. That brat didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, and he would be dealt with by the reincarnation spacetime sooner or later. But for now no one could touch that brat and Xianxia had to return. Who knew how long it would take for Lu Yin to be dealt with by the reincarnation spacetime? Xianxia didn't want to die in the Three Sovereigns universe. Since he couldn't do anything to Lu Yin, his only option was by Wang Yuan and the others. He couldn't be the only one to suffer. Now that the Cosmic Tree Society had expelled the Eternals, there was no longer any war. Those people were very comfortable and they might even be plotting against Shenwu Plain. Since that was the case, he had to pull them over. Chapter 2571. The four cardinal scales weren't completely united, and without a common enemy they would become enemies. Luo Jun looked at Xianxia. Are you talking about the other progenitors of the four cardinal scales? Will they be willing to come? Xianxia replied, that's a matter for the Yuan sages. Luo Jun took a deep breath. I know what to do. He then looked at Xianxia. If you can return, our previous agreement will still be in effect. Of course I won't let the Lu family off. Xianxia's eyes flashed with killing intent. On the fifth mainland, Above Heaven once again welcomed Ancestor Long. This was his 5th visit, and this time Bai Wangyuan was there as well. It was Elder Chan who welcomed him. Bai Wangyuan immediately said, "The situation is urgent, and the pressure on the Six Direction Association's battlefield has increased. We can no longer hold on. This time we don't need to go to the Three Monarchs space-time. If you still care about the big picture, don't refuse. We can strike a deal with you once again, and we will not enter the Fifth Mainland while supporting the Three Monarchs space-time." With Bai Wangyuan's declaration, this deal was still credible. Elder Chan shook his head. "I'm the only progenitor in above heaven. Even if we include Lu Yin, there are only 2 progenitors. We can't help in supporting the Three Monarchs space-time. The 4 cardinal scales have many progenitors, so you can just send 1 or 2. Why do you need us?" Ancestor Long said, "The Eternals aren't stupid. The danger of the Three Monarchs space-time comes from them. Perhaps they want to create a diversion and lead us to the Three Monarchs space-time before launching a large-scale attack. We can't take that risk." Bai Wangyuan looked deeply at Elder Chan. "The Six Direction Association wants us to share the pressure from the Eternals, but that doesn't mean that we have to bear all of it. We just need to share some of it. Thus, only 2 progenitors are needed to go to the Three Monarchs space-time. The others will stay behind and guard against the Eternals. As long as we support the Three Monarchs space-time, the Yuan sages will have no reason to let us lead the war. Isn't that what Lu Yin wants? Or do you want the cosmic trees to bear all of it?" "Elder Chan, you've lived since the era of the Daoist sect and entered the progenitor realm. You can be considered enlightened, so you shouldn't think like a junior. What's wrong with a junior like me?" Lu Yin's voice rang out as he tore through the void and descended, directly facing Bai Wangyuan. Bai Wangyuan said in a low voice, "Young man, you're too narrow-minded and can't see the big picture. I don't blame you. Since you value gains and losses, then let's strike an alliance. As long as either you or Elder Chan supports the Three Sovereigns space-time, we won't enter the Fifth Mainland." Lu Yin looked at Bai Wangyuan and then at the dragon ancestor. "Who wants to make an alliance with me?" "Of course it's me," Bai Yan said. "Are you the only one who can represent the 4 cardinal scales?" Bai Wangyuan frowned. "Back then it was you and me who fought the Astral 3 strikes. Ever since then the 4-way scales have never taken the initiative to attack you. Furthermore, you can specify who can't come. It's up to you. However, all of you tried to frame me. For example, you told Madman Lu about my existence, used the Heavenly Realm treasure vault to lure me in for a battle with Madman Lu, and even lured that old fogey Yuan sage to the Fifth Mainland. Bai Wangyuan, your promise is meaningless." Bai Wangyuan's gaze turned cold. "I've already fulfilled the content of the agreement. What you're talking about isn't a high five. As long as I agree to whatever conditions you propose, then it's a deal." Lu Yin shook his head and sighed. "I really feel sorry for you. Bai Wangyuan, do you really think that you can represent the entire 4-way scales?" "What do you mean?" Bai Wangyuan's expression was calm. Lu Yin tapped his fingers on the table. "Are Wang Fan and the Ghost Abyss ancestor within your control? Is Xianxia within your control?" The dragon ancestor replied, "Wang Fan and the Ghost Abyss ancestor can both be part of the conditions for this agreement. As for Xianxia, he's already been exiled by you." "What if he comes back?" Lu Yin said bluntly. Bai Wangyuan and the dragon ancestor exchanged glances and saw the shock in each other's eyes. "Did this kid know?" "Only you know where Xianxia went." "Lu Xiaoxian, what do you mean?" Bai Wangyuan asked in a low voice. Lu Yin replied, "I'm not an unreasonable person, and you're right. If the Three Monarchs space-time can't hold on, then the Six Direction Society won't be the only one to suffer. We will as well. Thus I agree to support the Three Monarchs space-time, but I must ensure that the Above Heaven sect is safe. First, the Six Direction Society must send someone to join me in the agreement, and they must not enter the Fifth Mainland without permission. Second, Xianxia must also appear and join me in the agreement." "Lu Xiaoxian, you're dreaming. Why would the Six Direction Society join you in the agreement?" The dragon ancestor barked. Bai Wangyuan frowned. "Lu Xiaoxian, what does the Six Direction Society have to do with you? Even if they want us to start a war, they won't compromise with you. Besides, the Six Direction Society poses no threat to you." Lu Yin replied, "Wrong. They pose a threat, and a very big one at that." He then looked outside the main hall. Everyone else looked outside as well. An old man slowly walked over with a walking stick supported by Zi. It was the Sixth Mainland's blood ancestor. Lu Yin stood up with a solemn expression and a deep respect in his eyes. Senior, I've troubled you to make a trip here. The current blood ancestor was completely different from how he had been in the past. The first time Lu Yin had seen the blood ancestor was when Lu Yin had gone through his origin tribulation. At that time, the blood ancestor had been very old, but he had been very spirited and had not seemed like an old man at all. The aura within his body had been enough to cause the stars to sway, and he could easily destroy the void with a wave of his hand. At that time, the blood ancestor had become Lu Yin's backer, and the four cardinal scales had misunderstood that the fifth mainland was being protected by a progenitor. As a result, none of the progenitors had entered the fifth mainland to attack Lu Yin. The second time, Lu Yin had traveled through the void and returned 20 years later. At that time, the blood ancestor had used his own body to block the crack in the sky supporting pillar and blocked the corpse god's attack, thus giving the fifth mainland a chance to survive. Lu Yin had then used the serious technique to borrow progenitor Chen's strength to drag the blood ancestor back. However, the blood ancestor had already lost his progenitor realm and was only left with the power of a progenitor. He was no longer a progenitor. The third time, a Yuan sage had opened up a parallel spacetime and attracted the corpse king of the eternal race to destroy the sect above the heavens. The blood ancestor had risked his life to block the attack with his broken body and had completely lost his cultivation base. He had become a cripple and could only rely on medicine to save his life. It could be said that the blood ancestor was one of the people that Lu Yin admired the most in the fifth mainland and the sixth mainland. Regardless of his cultivation base, the blood ancestor had truly sacrificed himself for humanity. He was a progenitor who had a fearless spirit and was worthy of being addressed as a senior by Lu Yin. If not for Mr. Mu as his master, Lu Yin would have already acknowledged the blood ancestor as his master. I'll just take it as a stroll. It's not bad to see an old friend, hee. The blood ancestor chuckled. He was very cheerful and had already seen through life and death. Facing the blood ancestor now, even Bai Wangyuan, who was in the 9 mountains and 8 seas, felt respect for him. Regardless of the grudges between the fifth mainland and the sixth mainland, Bai Wangyuan had to admit that the blood ancestor was a powerhouse who deserved everyone's respect. Ziyi, bring senior to Lang Mountain. The scenery there's pretty good. Also, ask Zhao Ran to make some tea for you, Lu Yin instructed. Ziyi bowed respectfully. Yes, Pathmaster. With that, she supported the blood ancestor and left. There weren't many words exchanged, but the blood ancestor's departing figure made Bai Wangyuan and the dragon ancestor speechless. Why had a dignified progenitor ended up like this? Was it worth it? Senior blood ancestor could have spent his later years in peace. Even if he had lost his progenitor's power, he would still be able to play around in the mortal world. However, Lu Yin clenched his fists and said calmly, because that old fogey Yuan Sheng attracted a corpse king from the Eternals. Senior blood ancestor lost his cultivation and his life was like a candle that could be extinguished at any time. He looked at Bai Wangyuan. Tell me, how can I not worry about the Six Direction Guild? Do you think that the Six Direction Guild is a threat to the Above Heavens sect? Is it because of a single sentence from you, Bai Wangyuan? Bai Wangyuan wanted to refute, but he couldn't find the words to say. The blood ancestor's example was too profound. He silently cursed Yuan Sheng for being so meddlesome. Luring the Eternals over would have been good enough for Bai Wangyuan to eliminate Lu Yin, but he had failed to accomplish anything and had even become a target for Lu Yin's ridicule. Alright, you guys can leave. We won't get involved in any of this. I don't know anything about the Six Direction Guild or the Three Monarchs spacetime. I only know how to protect the fifth mainland. I, Lu Yin, only care about the fifth mainland and the Above Heavens sect. Lu Yin chased Bai Wangyuan away. There was no need for further discussion, so Bai Wangyuan and the dragon ancestor left. Elder Chan said, "It's just as you said. They didn't mention anything about bringing Xianxia back." Lu Yin replied, "They'll mention it later. They didn't mention it now because they wanted me to be at ease. Senior, something is about to happen to Xinwu continent, so I'll have to trouble you to make a trip there." Elder Chan took a step forward and left the Above Heavens sect. As soon as he stepped into outer space, he saw that Bai Wangyuan and the dragon ancestor were still there. "What else do you want to say? There's no need for that. Go back." Bai Wangyuan looked at Elder Chan. "Why follow a junior like Zhou Xian? You've already repaid the Lu family's favor." Elder Chan was just about to speak when his expression suddenly changed. He looked in the direction of Shenwu continent. Not good. Bai Wangyuan blocked his path. There's no need to go. It's too late. You're going to attack Shenwu continent. Elder Chan's expression turned ugly. Bai Wangyuan clasped his hands behind his back. Since you're not willing to support the three monarchs spacetime, then have Xianxia return. That way we can spare two people to support the three monarchs spacetime. Lu Yin appeared. The older you get, the more shameless you become. Bai Wangyuan, don't you know that Xianxia was banished to the three monarchs spacetime? Bai Wangyuan and the dragon ancestors' expressions changed. Lu Yin's words meant that he was certain that they knew that Xianxia was in the three monarchs spacetime. If he wanted to open up Shenwu continent, then he might have guessed something. At this moment, four figures were facing each other in the Tower of Resonating Light. They were Wuxia, the Fog Ancestor, Wang Fan, and the Ghost Abyss Ancestor. Why are you here? Wang Fan looked at Wuxia and the Fog Ancestor in shock. How had they known that they were going to attack Shenwu continent? Wuxia's body was covered in evil energy. Retreat. With us here you won't be able to do anything. Chapter 2572. Wang Fan looked at the Fog Ancestor. Shiwei, you shouldn't have interfered with our feud with Zhou Xian. The Mist Ancestor frowned. I'm not interested in your grudges, but this place is connected to space-time so you can't break through it. It's none of your business. Wang Fan was dissatisfied. The Mist Ancestor raised his head. Then I'll be right here. If you have the ability, fight your way through. I want to bring Xianxia back. Isn't that what you want? Wang Fan berated. The Fog Ancestor shook his head. Let's not beat around the bush. The spacetime behind this is one of the 6 direction organizations, the 3 monarchs spacetime, right? Wang Fan narrowed his eyes and did not answer. I don't agree to connect this place to the 6-party sect. Xianxia has his own ways to come back, but we can't take this route. I've seen the character of that Yuan sage. The 6-party sect is not friendly to us. Now that we have finally settled down, I don't want to involve the 6-party sect, the Fog Ancestor said. On the other side, Bai Wangyuan stared at Lu Yin. You know that Xianxia was exiled to the 3 sovereign spacetime? Lu Yin smiled. The Shenwu continent's Tower of Resonating Light's passage isn't stable, and I found out that someone from the 3 monarchs spacetime had arrived. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to bring Xianxia back, but you absolutely cannot connect to the 3 monarchs spacetime. That's one of the 6 directional associations, and in my opinion, it's equivalent to the 6th mainland from decades ago. By the way, I'm curious. How did you know about the 3 monarchs universe? Bai Wangyuan did not explain further. They had failed this time and Lu Yin had long since made preparations. Xianxia could send a message from the 3 monarchs spacetimes, but he could not return. Thus, it would be impossible for them to join forces with the 3 monarchs spacetimes to deal with the above heaven sect. At this moment, Bai Wangyuan suddenly wondered if Mu Jun's disappearance was related to Lu Yin. Bai Wangyuan and the others eventually retreated. The 3 monarchs spacetime used the samsara spacetime represented by the Yuan sage to force the 4 monarchs spacetime to support the 3 monarchs spacetime. Xianxia was one of them, and the 4 monarchs spacetime had to send another person. Lu Yin did not care who the 4-way balance had sent. He had also received a message from the Yuan sage. It was very simple: destroy the Sky Above Sky sect. Such a straightforward threat represented the dominance of samsara spacetime. The messenger had come from the 4-way scales and had been thrown out by Lu Yin. He had also sent a message to the Yuan sage: an eye for an eye. Lu Yin's words were meant for the Yuan sages as well as the great heavenly venerate who had helped the 4-way scales banish the Lu family. Everyone in the 6 Direction Society knew of his existence, and they naturally knew of his hatred for the Lu family's exile. There was no need for him to hide it, and if possible, Lu Yin believed that the Grand Empyrean would not have shown him any mercy. Lu Yin had never begged for forgiveness from his enemies. The greater the pressure on the 6-way association, the safer he would be. Thus, the more he couldn't start a war. Beneath the kingdom of eternity, the deathly aura permeated the air, constantly corroding Mu Jun's body, making it difficult for her to maintain her sovereign qi. Lu Yin arrived. How does the death qi taste? Mu Jun looked at Lu Yin, his hair disheveled, making him look like a demon. The Grim Reaper's power. That's right, I heard that there is a legend of the Grim Reaper in the Three Monarch spacetime, Luin said. Mu Jun bitterly replied, that's a legend from the Three Monarchs universe. I'm not from that universe. I know. I just want you to have a taste of the primordial space's strength. The Grim Reaper is one of the 6 Dao of the 3 worlds in the primordial space. You and Xianxia worked together to divide the primordial space. Mu Jun closed her eyes. Mu Jun closed his eyes. Defeated by the power of the death god, I accept it wholeheartedly. What will it take for you to release me, Dao Master Luin? Luin shook his head. Not for now. Mu Jun stared at Luin. Xianxia worked with us to deal with you and eliminate the threat of the Lu family. If you capture me, the 3 monarchs array won't be able to be maintained, which will only benefit the Eternals. That's your goal? Xianxia is in the 3 monarchs universe. If the 3 monarchs universe can't hold on, then Xianxia definitely won't be able to return to the primordial space. He might even draw the 4 cardinal scales over. Luin praised, smart. He never underestimated anyone and no one was truly stupid. It was just that they were on different levels. Mu Jun immediately saw through Lu Yin's intentions. If Lu Yin's identity as Xianxia was exposed, then Luo Jun would be able to guess that Mu Jun was in his hands. Mu Jun stared at Luin. We'll work with you and help you deal with the 4 cardinal scales. Luin laughed. I just praised you for being smart, but this is too stupid. Do you think I'll believe you? Why not? Working with you is much safer than working with the 4 cardinal scales. From what I know, the primordial space only has 2 progenitors in the primordial space, but the 4 cardinal scales have more than that. Lu Yin's lips curled up. First, my primordial space has more than 2 progenitors. It seems like you've been tricked by Xianxia. Mu Jun's expression changed and a cold glint appeared in the depths of his eyes. Second, I don't plan on working with you. The 3 monarchs are one entity and you'll only be useful if you give up on the 3 monarchs universe. Otherwise you'll never be useful. Third, even if you're willing to work with me, how will you explain this to the reincarnation universe? Mu Jun's eyes flashed. The 6 Direction Society is a single entity. Is that so? Right, there's something I forgot to tell you. Luin met Mu Jun's puzzled gaze and slowly said, I'm Xianxia. Mu Jun was stunned at first, but then his expression changed. Xianxia? That genius Xianxia? Luin was amused. Yes, that genius Xianxia. I already know quite a bit about your 6 Direction Society. What else do you want to say? Mu Jun's face turned ashen. She would never have dreamed that Xianxia was actually the primordial space's Dao Master Luin. Wasn't he captured by the hyperspace continuum? Right, the hyperspace continuum had never mentioned where Xianxia came from. Could it be? You tricked hyperspace. Mu Jun finally realized that this had been a trap from the very beginning. Luin had disguised himself as Xianxia and been brought to hyperspace with Zijing, where he had begun his journey to learn more about the 6 Direction Society. To think that they had all thought that Luin knew nothing about the 6 Direction Society. What a joke. What was even more laughable was that the reincarnation universe was still fighting with the Void God universe. Mu Jun could not imagine the expressions of those people once they learned of Xianxia's true identity. Luin left and Mu Jun had just been captured. Right now she was thinking about how to deal with the above heaven continuum and how to escape. She still had not fully understood her fate and had not recovered from being a progenitor's prisoner. The next time he came, he believed that he would be able to find out what he wanted from this woman. Shao Qingfeng, He Shu and the others had all returned, so it was time for him to leave as well. Before he left, Luo Lauer asked to see Luin. He could not return to the 6 Direction Training Hall, as he could not appear in front of anyone from the 6 Direction Society. There are many sects in the 5th mainland, whether it's the Outer Verse, the Inner Verse, the Cosmic Sea or the Neoverse. You can join any sect you want, even if you want to become an interstellar pirate. Luo Lauer said, Brother-in-law, I want to follow you. I'm Xianxia now. Luo Lauer was helpless and hesitated to speak. What are you trying to say? Luin frowned. Luo Lauer was afraid. This person in front of him had severely injured Mu Jun, and this was not the Xianxia he had seen before. Brother-in-law, can I find an extreme powerhouse to be my master? That's your problem. I can't force anyone to take you in as a disciple. There's only one extreme powerhouse in the 5th mainland, and he's known as Elder Chan. He's a respectable senior. Luo Lauer wanted to say something, but Lu Yin patted him on the shoulder. One day you'll be able to return to the Three Monarchs spacetime and meet Lord Luo. At that time I believe that you'll be the strongest inheritor of the monarch's aura. This power isn't bad. Luo Lauer had a complicated expression. Yes, the monarch's aura was not bad, but so what? Mu Jun had still been captured. He longed to become an extreme powerhouse one day and personally avenge his mother. He wanted to meet Mu Jun, but Lu Yin did not give him the chance. There was no need for him to meet Luo Lauer, as Mu Jun did not care about him at all. In the Three Monarchs spacetime, Lu Yin appeared on a planet in the Lower King's starfield that was not far from the Thunder Sealing clan's ruins. It was time for Xianxi's identity to appear. Lu Yin assumed Xianxi's appearance and took a spacecraft to the Thunder Sealing clan's ruins. A few days later he arrived and looked at the ruins in front of him. Puzzled, he asked the people around him, "May I ask if the Thunder Sealing clan is here?" The person was startled by the question and hurriedly left. Lu Yin asked the others one by one, but no one dared to answer him. Not long after, a middle-aged man appeared in front of him. "Young man, why are you looking for the Thunder Sealing clan?" Lu Yin bowed. "This junior is good friends with Luo Ho of the Thunder Sealing clan, and I'm here to ask for help." The middle-aged man's eyes went wide. Luo Ho was Luo Lauer. "You're good friends with Luo Ho?" "Yes." "What's your name?" Lu Yin recognized this middle-aged man. He was one of the two monarchs who had attacked the Thunder Sealing clan at night. He was from Mo Courtyard and he had been watching this place the entire time. Lu Yin respectfully replied, "This junior is Xianxia." 2 hours later, Lu Yin appeared in a courtyard where the middle-aged man had brought him. "Senior, may I ask why you've brought this junior here?" Lu Yin asked. "I'm Tsang Bai." "So it's Senior Tsang. I brought you here because someone wants to see you, but you'll have to wait a while." The Thunder Sealing clan. Tsang Bai stared at Lu Yin. "Perhaps. The environment here isn't bad, so just wait here." "This junior understands." Lu Yin bowed and watched Tsang Bai disappear. Someone wanted to see him? It had to be Luo Jun, but unfortunately that wasn't possible for the time being. Lu Yin had purposely chosen this time to appear because he had sensed the aura of the God of Oblivion at the border. Luo Jun didn't have time to come, and news of Lu Yin's appearance should have reached Zhou Xian's ears soon. Lu Yin hoped that Zhou Xian would take him away before Luo Jun arrived, or else he wouldn't be able to hide his identity. There were many people outside the courtyard, but their treatment was completely different from Lu Yin's. There were no less than 10,000 people who had been imprisoned, and they were most likely related to the Thunder Sealing clan. Lu Yin himself had received preferential treatment because of his special status. There was nothing he could do at this point, so he could only wait quietly. Chapter 2573. Several days later, two people appeared. One was Zhou Xian and the other was Yu Ting. Tsang Bai blocked them outside. "Xianxia is involved in the matter between Rahu and the Thunder Sealing clan. You can't take him away for now. Get lost. You don't have the qualifications to stop me." Zhou Xian raised his hand and the death bug appeared. The boundless void god's power caused Tsang Bai to feel apprehensive. People in the virtual god universe could use virtual god power that was several times stronger than their own to fight. In other words, even if virtual god power was similar to Tsang Bai's, once he used virtual god power he would be equivalent to several Tsang Bai. This was not something that Tsang Bai could stop alone. Tsang Bai was resolute. "I can't stop you all by myself, but Mohe Courtyard is here." As soon as he finished speaking, the auras of many half-step martial monarchs soared into the starry sky. There were 15 half-monarchs gathered in Mohe Courtyard. Even though Qing Ping had crippled 3 of them, there were still 12 left. The power released by the 12 demigod monarchs was enough to make it difficult for Zhou Xian and Yu Ting to advance. Zhou Xian sneered, "Are you threatening me with Mohe Courtyard?" Tsang Bai did not back down. Yu Ting replied, "The Mohe Courtyard's duty is to protect the imperial region. If you can make all the demigods of the Mohe Courtyard stay here, we'll immediately retreat. If you can't, you'll have to leave." Tsang Bai said, "There's no need for the two of you to make things difficult for me. This is a task given to me by Lord Luo. Anyone who has dealings with the Sealing Thunder clan must be imprisoned and confirmed." "Xianxia has dealings with the Thunder Sealing clan?" Zhou Xian raised his brows. He just arrived at the Thunder Sealer clan's ruins. He hasn't even seen a single member of the Thundersealer clan before you locked him up here. Which member of the Thundersealer clan did he interact with? Rahu, said Songbai. Su Xiangyin sneered. Xianxia and Luo Ho met at Hexagon Dojo, but they were captured by the Eternals. Even though they're both in this space-time, they can't contact each other. Otherwise, why would Xianxia walk right into the trap when Luo Ho escaped? Songbai frowned. What he said was true. That was why he only locked Xianxia here and did not interrogate him. The others had all been interrogated before. Su Xiangyin looked at Yuting. Time waits for no man. We can't let them delay the trial. Yuting pushed Songbai aside. If there's anything, let Lord Luo negotiate with Lord He Ran. We'll be taking Xianxia with us. Songbai raised her hand and stopped Yuting's arm. Yuting stared at Songbai. Don't tell me you don't know what Lord Luo is doing. Songbai was startled and subconsciously lowered her arm. Yuting stepped into the courtyard. Su Xiangyin snorted coldly and entered at the same time. Within the courtyard, Lu Yin was cultivating faux god's force. When Yuting and Su Xiangyin entered, they saw this scene. Su Xiangyin was excited. Kid, you made us look for you. Lu Yin looked at Su Xiangyin in shock and he was just as excited. Senior, you're finally here. I almost thought that I wouldn't be able to return. Don't worry, I'll take you back right away. Su Xiangyin laughed heartily as he was truly happy. Everyone who had been captured had returned one by one, but Lu Yin was nowhere to be seen. Su Xiangyin had been worried that Lu Yin had died and he really cared about this kid. Not only was he extremely talented, he was also very obedient and sensible, and he also yearned for the Void God civilization. Even though he might have been taken away by the stone gate, he didn't give up. Instead, he felt a little guilty. It was the Void God universe that couldn't keep this child here. Yuting heaved a sigh of relief. Xianxia was equally important to transdimensional. He had reminded Yuting that he had to find this person, which was why Yuting and Su Xiangyin had rushed over. Senior, can I leave now? Xianxia asked nervously. Su Xiangyin waved his hand. Go. What happens in this place has nothing to do with you. You're just unlucky to have been left here. Lu Yin's expression turned bitter at the mention of this. Senior, you don't know how I've been through all this time. I couldn't find anyone, and when I finally found out where the Thunder Sealing clan was, I couldn't reveal any power that didn't belong to the monarch's aura. I had to wander around many times before arriving here, and then I was imprisoned here. Senior Songbai made it sound nice, but I could tell that I was imprisoned here. Outside the courtyard, Songbai's expression turned ugly. He tried to contact Lord Luo and Lord Taishan, but the border war had lasted for several months, so it was difficult to contact them. Alright, let's talk about it when we get back. Shi Jiao has also been looking for you for a long time. She even mobilized the entire Great Stone Gate to look for other people in spacetime. Although I don't want to admit it, the Great Stone Gate really cares about you. Su Xiangyin sighed. He then brought Lu Yin out of the Three Monarchs spacetime and headed towards the Hexagon training grounds. Songbai wanted to stop them, but in the end he didn't. The Three Monarchs' position in the Six Direction Society was too low, and they could be replaced at any time. Mu Jun was still missing, so they were on the verge of elimination. As for Xianxia, he was either in the Six Direction Society, in the Void God Society, or in the Reincarnation Society. As long as they found out that there was something wrong with him, he wouldn't be able to escape. After returning to the Six Direction Society, Su Xiangyin heaved a sigh of relief. Thankfully that Songbai isn't a blockhead. If it was Qin Lu, he might have been able to stop us. To be honest, it's still a bit difficult for us to work together. That guy might have even mobilized the entire Mo courtyard to keep us there. Yuting said, Qin Lu doesn't leave the Imperial domain easily, and it's said that he's at the critical moment of breaking through. He won't care about this kind of thing. Qin Li's about to break through? Su Xiangyin was shocked. As expected of the first demigod of the Three Monarchs. Once he breaks through, it'll be enough to offset the negative effects of Mu Jun's disappearance. However, it'll still be very difficult for him to complete the Three Monarchs formation. That's not for us to worry about. We've already brought Xianxia back, so we've made it in time. You can talk to him yourself. He's either from the Void God Society or the Reincarnation Society, Yuting said before leaving. Lu Yin looked at Su Xiangyin in confusion. Su Xiangyin said, Fortunately you appeared. If you were a few days later, we wouldn't have been able to make it in time. Good. Lu Yin was surprised. Zhou Xian's expression turned serious. 6-direction training. Lu Yin was shocked. Training? Climbing a mountain? That's the first trial. Yuting told you that you'll have to leave from there as well, right? Yes. That's a trial for integrating the cultivation of the 6-direction association. Once you pass, you'll be able to leave the 6-direction training grounds and return to your original space-time. However, that's not important. Now there's another trial, and it's both a trial and a test with rewards. This is also the good thing I told you about. Have you heard of the Genesis space? Lu Yin's finger twitched and he looked puzzled. Genesis space. Zhou Xian straightened up. I don't think so. Actually, before I reached my current realm, I had never heard of it. You can think of the Genesis space as a powerful parallel spacetime. This mission is to head to the Genesis space and capture some people. He paused. Complete the mission and you'll receive the rewards from the 6-direction association. It's dangerous, isn't it? Lu Yin hesitated, but his mood was stifled. Had the 6-direction association made a move against him? If they wanted to capture people, then they should be capturing people related to him. Where did they get the confidence to send people to the 5th mainland to capture people? Zhou Xian explained, of course there are dangers, but you won't die for nothing. One of the 3 sovereigns of the reincarnation spacetime, the grade 9 Lotus Sovereign, has given you a Lotus treasure for this trial. If you encounter any danger, just activate the Lotus treasure and you'll be brought back to the 6-direction training grounds. Only an extreme powerhouse will be able to break through the Lotus treasure's defenses. There aren't many extreme powerhouses in the place you're going, and the people you're supposed to capture won't get close to them. As long as you don't expose yourself, there won't be much danger. Xianxia, take advantage of this opportunity. The Genesis space is a special existence to the 6-direction association, and you'll understand this in the future. The greatest reward for this trial is enough to make people go crazy. Zhou Xian's eyes burned with passion. Do you know what the reward is? Lu Yin smiled bitterly. How would this junior know? Zhou Xian's eyes burned with passion. A seat. Lu Yin's brows rose. A seat in the reincarnation spacetime? No, a seat in the Grand Empyrean Tea Party, Zhou Xian said. Lu Yin's pupils shrank. He had heard of the Grand Empyrean Tea Party before, and it had been held more than once. It was a grand occasion that the 6-direction association paid a lot of attention to. Normally, it was difficult to see a Grand Empyrean, and it was only at a tea party that everyone had the chance to see one. The so-called tea party was not just a place to taste tea, but also to listen to the Grand Empyrean's teachings. In the 6-direction training grounds, whenever a tea party was mentioned, everyone would become excited and would say that they would do everything in their power to listen. Even so, how many people would actually be able to listen to the teachings of the Grand Empyrean? As for drinking tea, only those in the upper seats had the chance to drink tea personally brewed by a Grand Empyrean. Zhou Xian looked up and said, the Grand Empyrean Tea Party has 99 seats. In the entire 6-direction association, including all the parallel spacetimes, only 99 people can have a seat. They can come in close contact with a Grand Empyrean and drink tea personally brewed by a Grand Empyrean. Aside from that, there are also 9,990,000 people who can listen to the teachings of a Grand Empyrean. It was because of the teachings of a Grand Empyrean that my heart was enlightened and allowed me to break through to my current realm. I became one of the strongest existences in the Void God spacetime, and my opportunity came from Senior Su Wuwei. He looked at Lu Yin seriously. Do you know how many people die at every Grand Empyrean tea party just to compete for the opportunity to listen to the teachings of a Grand Empyrean? They don't kill each other, but they die on the battlefield. They die because they perform meritorious deeds and become famous in the universe. If you want to obtain a seat, it's not enough just because you have a high cultivation. You also need opportunities and contributions. As for the 99 seats, it's even harder to obtain one. How many powerhouses are there in the 6-direction association? How many people are at my realm? How many are there in all the parallel spacetimes? There are too many, and if any seat is given out, it's enough to cause a war. Lu Yin naturally knew what Zhou Xian was talking about. He had heard too many stories about the tea parties, as even progenitors wanted to participate in them. According to the records, there are a total of 17 people who broke through to the extreme realm because they participated in the Grand Empyrean Tea Party, Zhou Xian said. Lu Yin sucked in a breath of cold air. 17 extreme realm powerhouses meant that 17 progenitors had broken through to the progenitor realm because of the Grand Empyrean Tea Party? This was unimaginable. How is it? Do you understand how important this seat is now? Zhou Xian asked solemnly. Chapter 2574. After hearing Zhou Xian's words, Lu Yin was puzzled. Senior, why would such an important seat be given to the Six Direction training grounds? Zhou Xian shook his head. I don't know either. I specifically asked Senior Su Wei, and he said that anything related to the Genesis space cannot be deduced using common sense. I heard that the Yuan Sage of the Reincarnation Universe went to the Genesis space several times and had a conflict with someone called Lu Yin. That Lu Yin refused to participate in the war against the everlasting race. This might be a sign that the Grand Empyreans have begun to attack the Genesis space. Lu Yin's heart sank. The seat at the tea party was too important, but such an important seat had been given out just for the sake of training. Who do you want to catch? Lu Yin asked. Zhou Xian took out a list and handed it to Lu Yin. Everyone participating in the trial will complete the trial as long as you catch anyone on this list. You'll be rewarded. The top 3 people represent the seats, and if you catch any one of them you'll get a seat. If the 3 are caught by different people there will be other ways to compete. From top to bottom there were Lei Qingqing, Haizij Lian, Wendy Yushan, Spectre, the Unclean Brothers, Luo Shen, Wen Sansi, Ling Gong, Susen, Ku Wei, Mira, and so on. There were dozens of names on the list and all of them were related to him. Some of them were family, some were friends, and some were even people who had benefited from him. The Six Direction Society had such a detailed list, so it must have come from someone he was familiar with or had investigated for a long time. What was this? Revenge? The methods of a Yuan sage. But how could a Yuan sage guarantee a seat at the Grand Empyrean Tea Party? This trial isn't that dangerous. With the Lotus treasure protecting you, even if it's useless, I believe that the primordial space won't dare to do anything to you. No matter what, that Lu Yin won't dare to offend the entire Six Direction Society. Thus, I hope that you can go. I don't ask for a seat in the tea party, but if you can capture someone, I can ask Senior Su Wei for credit. Perhaps you can even obtain an opportunity to listen to a Grand Empyrean's teachings. If 99 million people can obtain this opportunity, it's not impossible for you, Zhou Xian said. Lu Yin put away the list and solemnly said, I understand. I will do my best to catch the person on this list. Zhou Xian was satisfied. I won't force it. After all, there are extremely strong powerhouses there. Go back and rest. You will depart in 5 days at most. Yes, Senior, Lu Yin replied. Shi Jiao was not in the Reincarnation Dao Academy, or else she would have met Lu Yin when he returned. Looking at the waterfall in front of him, Lu Yin sat in the pavilion and fell into deep thought. The Six-Party Society was more radical than he had imagined. He had expected that the Yuan sage would have a way to deal with him. Therefore he had hurriedly returned as Xianxia in order to understand the Six-Party Society better and find a way to deal with the Yuan sage. However, he had not expected the Six-Party Society to act so quickly. This was just a trial, so the people captured did not have very high cultivation bases. The strongest among them was perhaps Haizij Lian, whose combat power did not exceed 1 million. The energy sources used by Shao Qingfeng and the others were enough to suppress this power. As long as it did not involve a half-martial ancestor, it was unlikely that they would attract his attention for the time being. If he had not come, they might have really captured a few half-martial ancestors and placed him in a passive position. Lu Yin's gaze turned cold, but he wasn't worried about this trial. Even though the reward of a seat in the tea party would cause those geniuses to go crazy, as long as they were in the Fifth Mainland, they wouldn't be able to overturn the heavens. What Lu Yin was truly worried about was the Sixth Mainland's attitude towards the Fifth Mainland. It was already very clear that the Six-Way Society's attitude towards the Fifth Mainland was hostile. Zhou Xian had repeatedly said that he would not do anything to the people who entered the Genesis space. In their hearts, the Genesis space had long since declined, and Lu Yin was just someone who could be threatened at any time. Perhaps in Zhou Xian's eyes, the Genesis space was no different from the drifting cloud spacetime. This also represented the opinion of the majority of the Six-Way Society. Lu Yin already knew about this trial, so how should he deal with it? It would be too easy to deal with these trial takers since Lian Bao could not protect them. But what would happen after he dealt with them? If the next batch of trial takers was not them, then it might be a half-martial ancestor or even a progenitor. The Six-Way Society did not lack progenitors. Lu Yin sat alone in the pavilion for an entire day until someone arrived the next day. It was Shi Hong and Zhu Xianxia. The two were shocked to see Lu Yin. Lu Yin smiled. What a coincidence. Coincidence? I thought you came because you received some news. Shi Hong was astonished. Lu Yin did not understand. What news? News about the trial, Shi Hong said, her eyes bright as she looked at Lu Yin. Many people are going to the Genesis space for the trial, and there are also many people who need to be captured. After all, this is an unfamiliar space, so everyone decided to gather here and set a target so that we can avoid killing each other. Lu Yin nodded. What a coincidence. He then looked at Zhu. You're going as well? Zhu grunted. Anyone who enters the sect can participate in the trial. Shi Hong stepped forward. Xianxia, who are your targets? Lu Yin replied, the top 3 of course. Zhu was shocked. You want to capture the top 3? Shi Hong replied, the top 3 are Lei Qingqing, Haizij Lian and Wendy Yushan. Who do you want to capture? Lu Yin shook his head. I'm not too sure. We'll talk about it when we get to the Genesis space. I'll capture whoever is closest to me. This isn't something that you can capture just because you're close. A voice rang out from the distance. It was Luo Zong. The 3 looked over and saw that Luo Zong had arrived with a few people following him. On the other side, Shao Qingfeng, He Shu, Mu Mu and the rest had also arrived. Aside from them, there were also a few strangers that Lu Yin had never seen before. Their cultivations were similar, and each of them had a few people following behind them. Luo Zong approached them. The Genesis space isn't weak. If we scatter around aimlessly to capture people, we'll be easily exposed and surrounded by the Genesis space. That's why we're gathering to discuss our targets. Shi Hong retreated with Zhu. These people were not people that they could afford to provoke, so they naturally walked behind He Shu. After all, they were from the spacetime continuum. Su Ji had also arrived and he glanced at Lu Yin before looking at Luo Zong. Needless to say, everyone's target is the top 3, but there are so many people here. How should we split the spoils? Shao Qingfeng replied, we'll decide based on cultivation. Su Yu appeared behind Su Ji. This is a trial given by the 6 directional training rites. What's there to discuss? Just do it. Whoever captures them will have the ability to do so. He Shu smiled. I've already said that randomly capturing people will only alert the Genesis space. Once we're surrounded or even betrayed, no one will be able to succeed. This trial is one thing, but another is definitely related to Senior Yuan Sage. I've been to the Genesis space once and that Lu Yin is very arrogant. Arrogant? Hehe, I like arrogant people the most. A burly man clenched his fists. It's a pity that Lu Yin isn't on the list. Otherwise it wouldn't be bad to capture him. He Shu's eyes flashed. Lu Yin can fight against Senior Yuan Sage. He Shu's eyes flashed. When he had threatened to attack Lu Yin, it had only been a show to the Yuan Sage to show his attitude. If they really fought, Lu Yin wouldn't even last one round. He Shu wasn't stupid and could clearly recognize the disparity between them. Thus he had been thinking about Lu Yin ever since he had returned and thought of him as an imaginary enemy. The burly man didn't say anything. A Yuan Sage was one of the 3 venerables and 9 sages. How could he deal with such a person? The people on this list should all be related to Lu Yin. I never thought that Senior Yuan Sage would capture people and threaten them one day, said a girl. She was petite and cute and her eyes were slightly white. Even her hair was slightly white. She looked very intelligent. He Shu looked at the girl and asked, Lele, how do you think we should distribute this list? The girl scratched her white hair, making it even messier as if she hadn't taken care of it for months. I don't know. I don't like talking to you. He Shu's eyes narrowed. Su Yu went over and grabbed Lele's hair. Lele was startled and screamed, scaring Su Yu as well. Lele, what are you doing? Yeah, what are you doing? I'm looking for you. You scared me, he said. You scared me too, said Lin Feng. Suji was speechless. Lele, you're the smartest person here. Tell me, what should we do? Lele blinked and her eyes became even paler. We'll capture whoever is closest to us. Everyone rolled their eyes. Luo Zong said, we'll all descend at the same place. If we capture whoever is closest to us, won't we all be heading towards the same target? Lele replied, you're so stupid. We don't understand the situation in that space-time, so the first step is to spread out and understand the situation. When the time comes, we'll just capture whoever is closest to us. Besides, she scratched her fluffy hair again, causing some white bits to fly out. Suyu cried out in alarm and hurriedly backed away. Lele, you're so disgusting. Lele looked at her hand. Disgusting? It's not like you haven't eaten before. Suyu's eyes widened. When have I eaten before? Lele rolled her eyes. Didn't you enjoy the snacks I gave you 3 months ago? Suyu's face paled. Don't tell me. Lele nodded. It was made from these. The surrounding people subconsciously backed away, looking at Suyu in disbelief and sympathy. Suyu shouted, "Damn you, Lele. I'll kill you." She charged over and Lele hurriedly fled. The two of them quickly disappeared. Yishu smiled. Everyone, don't mind her. That's just how Lele is. Xiao Qingfeng said, she thinks that we're wasting time here. Suji said, isn't that so? Even if we've discussed who our targets are, who would really give up on the top 3? Even if there's only a 1 in a billion chance, everyone will fight for a seat at the Celestial Worthy Tea Party. With the power we have, it's not difficult to capture the people on the list. It's basically first come, first served. Then what are we talking about? Mu Mu frowned. Xiao Qingfeng said, we're here to warn everyone that the primordial space isn't strong, but it's not weak either. Don't get close to the above heaven sect. Hishu added, that's why we're gathered here. Don't get close to the above heaven sect. No one is allowed to get close. Also, don't betray others even if you die. Otherwise, even if you come back alive, we won't let you go. Whoever we capture will depend on our own abilities, the burly man said. If we capture others and bring them back, won't they be demi-humans? Someone suddenly asked. Everyone on the list are demi-humans, Luo Qingfeng said coldly.